7:03. We're going to bring the land use committee to order tonight for our meeting. Pat, if you'll do roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please listen for your names as usual and let us know that you're here. Victoria Knapp.
Present.
Amy Lyford.
Present.
Billy Malone. Okay. Nick Arnzen.
Present.
Present. Dorothy Wong. Present.
It's here.
Hannah Petrie.
Present.
Chris O'Malley.
Here.
And Sandra doesn't have a replacement yet.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Veronica Jones.
Here.
Daniel Aranda.
Or
Oh.
Daryl, that would be Daryl.
Daryl.
What did I say?
You said Daniel.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Daryl. Oh, gee.
It's all right. Daryl. Okay, so he's not here.
Okay.
That's
Daryl
right.
is coming. He will be here. I just spoke to him.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm here. Alan Peck. Okay. Doug Cauliflower.
Here.
Dan Harlow.
Here.
Diane Marcussen.
Here.
And Sylvia Vega.
Here.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
And
7,
Nick is signing in.
9, 10, 11,
And
12.
Billy's having trouble. He just texted me too.
Yeah, Nick is on his way in.
Okay. We have a quorum.
Nick or Daryl? There's Alan Peck coming in. And there's Billy. Okay. Billy was up in the Alps, and so that's why it took him a little longer to get here.
We've had Southern California Edison's shut off our power all day.
That's what I've been
So
hearing.
I haven't been able to get online, haven't been doing anything. Now I'm trying to play catch up, and then I'm trying to get everything back working. So
Yeah, okay, well, you can sit quietly and chime in when necessary. Okay, so I sent out the meeting agenda for March 2nd. Does anybody have any amendments to that? Daniel Harlow?
Yes, I have the project number here from for my project.
Okay, that's item 6.2.
Yes. So the it's long. You're ready for it?
Yeah.
It is RPPL 202101471 for project PRJ 2021-000727.
Okay. So that's just so that was something that we had not been able to get from the planner until like a minute and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last night.
Yeah. So does anybody have any other amendments or changes that they wanted to make at this time to the agenda? Okay. So can I get somebody to move to approve it as amended?
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
I
Second.
second.
Okay, who's gonna second?
We have two.
Pick one. Okay, Alan is the second. Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda for March 2nd, 2021 as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Pat sent the minutes out. I think she got a couple of amendments, did you? Or a couple of changes, corrections, whatever?
Actually, no. I sent the minutes out last Friday, the 26th, and I did not receive any corrections. Are there any additional corrections?
You didn't receive anything from me?
Yes, but the information was already listed
Okay,
under the project.
okay. Okay, so there are no other amendments, or there are no amendments to the minutes that you all reviewed, say yes? Okay, Pat, you want to make a motion?
In that case, I move that we accept the Altadena Town Council land use minutes for February the 2nd without corrections.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor of approving as distributed, say aye.
Aye.
Who
Opposed?
was your second, Diane?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Amy.
Last time I got to, Amy seconded. Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes as distributed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay,
There should be one abstention. Alan wasn't here last time, so it should be one abstention.
Alan Peck, you weren't
He
here
was not,
last?
he was not here last month.
What? Alan, are you?
Thinking, and I think I was here last month. For land use, yes.
Okay, we didn't have you marked as here. We'll go back and look, never mind. Okay, so, the minutes are approved. If you, Pat, if you would, put those into PDF form and then get them to Dorothy to post,
Yes,
that would be
yes.
helpful. Okay,
She'll have them, they'll be in her inbox by tomorrow morning.
okay, great. Okay, I do not have much, we have a really packed meeting and I don't have much of a chairman report this tonight. There is a meeting tomorrow night I want to encourage everybody to go to about Eaton Canyon if you are part of the discussion that has been ongoing about the changes to Eaton Canyon. The best thing to do is to attend that meeting and get the direct information from the county. I also would like to take a moment to talk about land use committee and how we look at these projects and interact with the county. The land use committee and the town council look into projects, look at different things that might be impacting the community, look at what kinds of mitigation can be put into a project that the county, if they are approved as conditions, that the county can enforce, because they will not agree to a condition that can't be enforced. We do that, both the ATC and the land use committee do that as we can and as we are as we discuss them and see what appropriate or things that we can do. Often we're very successful in coming up with mitigation actions that may help the committee, I'm sorry, help the community. And oftentimes we don't. There are times when the project is complex and the county has their own processes, their own, they are the determining factor. I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The county does not have it be a law in their world that they have to come to town council at all with anything. And they do that as a favor to us in Altadena, and also it does sort of help them to really understand what's going on here in Altadena for some of these projects. But the town council and Billy, I'm speaking for town council too tonight, but the town council and the land use committee do not make any decisions whatsoever that are legally binding or part of the project. What happens is that we send a letter down to regional planning that says, hey, we had some meetings, we got some feedback, we came up with some recommended conditions if you are able to include them, and we recommend approval or denial of a project. And then the county takes all of that and determines what they're going to do with it. And the county themselves are the ones that make any of the decisions that are legally binding with any applicant, resident, or business. So I just want to be really clear that we are here to listen to what the residents are saying on a particular project. We do the best we can within the limitations that we know we have to try to get that information down to the county. I think I've told you before that in one case a long time ago, the residents did not want to have a cell tower put in, but the only reason they didn't want to have a cell tower put in was for health reasons. And legally, no project can be turned down from a cell tower for health reasons. So what we did was sent a letter down to regional planning that said the town council voted to approve it with these conditions. We did put conditions on the project. We voted to recommend approval with conditions. And then in that letter, made sure that we put down that the residents were very concerned about the health, that while we didn't take that into we were not able to take those health conditions into consideration as we were voting, that we did want to pass along to the county that had been of great concern. So there are some things we can do and some things we can't. And I just want everybody to be really clear. Again, Altadena Town Council Land Use Committee are not making any of these decisions, nor does the county have to follow any of our recommendations. They will if we can make a good argument, but okay.
Can I add something quickly to what you
Yes,
just
sir.
said?
Yeah, go
When
ahead.
you mentioned about the we get to suggest conditions, how the conditions are worded and what's included, county words it their way. Only because I have heard people mention, how come land use and Altadena Town Council didn't word the condition this way or didn't ask for it that way? It's because we suggest it, but county, they word it any way they want. It doesn't matter what we ask for. We have no say on how they word a condition.
Well, I will say that there was a project, quite a large project that we worked on for years, quite frankly, that in the end, when the project went to the Regional Planning Commission, there were conditions that we had asked for that weren't taken into consideration at all, that we felt we had a list, honestly, of like 25 conditions or something. It was a huge, long list of conditions. This, by the way, I'm not speaking of the Palm Street project. And so we had to go back later and say, hey, look, a couple of these are really important. We thought we had made that clear, but so there are a couple of times when we have been able to go back. Now they're not required. They can say, oh, okay, fine, thanks for letting us know, and we're sorry, but that isn't included in the project. So anyway, okay. So thanks, Billy, for that clarification. Okay, now we're going to move on. We have lots to go through. So we are going to you'll see that I have on here that it's expected that the committee may take action on these items. So we have quite a number of items. Some of them are coming to us for the first time. Some of them are for the second time, but have questions. So this is what the anticipation of the land use committee member was. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we'll go through these. This is not an automatic, yes, we're going to vote. It never is. So I just want to make sure everybody's very clear and comfortable that we're going to take these one at a time, and we're going to look at the unique situation for each one. Okay, having said that, we have the project that we talked about at the last meeting on McGuire Drive, making it into a meditation and learning center for Buddhism. We can, if there are questions on the project, we can certainly address those. Does everybody feel like they understand what the project is? Or do we need to go back and circle back around? Okay. I want to mention a couple of things that we talked about at the last meeting. I think we had the applicant's representative was here, and I don't know if he's here tonight or not. I can't see, but the applicant's representative was here and explained kind of what the situation was. I mentioned before and sent out the information, but the county, based on a lot of the feedback that they'd gotten from the neighbors, came up with a condition that they are going to put, this is already, if they approve the project, they will put a condition on that says 3 parking spaces for all guests shall be provided on site. So just take it one piece at a time. So they're going to have 3 parking spaces on the property shall be provided for all guests on site. And then no more than 3 vehicles shall be allowed to visit the meditation center at any given time. So that is the, sorry, I got to come back from my document. Okay. So that is the condition that the county is planning, if they go ahead and recommend approval of the project, that they're planning on putting on the project regarding parking, which is that no more than 3 cars can visit the property at a time. And the 3 parking spaces will be on site at the property. So I think there are some, so what I want to do is just have a bit of a discussion on this. Sylvia has public comment to read into the record, which we will do before we vote. And the other document I just sent out to everybody is a little bit ago, and I'm sorry, I know I had sent it out before, but I just wanted to, like you'd gotten the link before, I actually sent it out again, about the federal law related to religious organizations. And so the section that I think we are most, concerned about says that religious assemblies and institutions must be treated at least as well as non-religious assemblies and institutions. This is known as the equal terms provision. And this example is that, you know, this one community said, no, we aren't going to do it, but they let in fraternal organizations and banquet facilities. And so those are non-religious assemblies and institutions. There was another one is bars discrimination against any assembly or institution on the basis of religion or religious denomination. So this is a Buddhist, we cannot discriminate against that assembly based on religion or religious denomination. And you can't totally exclude religious assemblies from a jurisdiction, which would be, in this case, the R1 neighborhood. So I just wanted to mention that. That's not to say that we are, you know, we just need to be aware of it because the county is taking this into consideration. Okay, so so I guess why don't we do this? Sylvia, will you read the public comment now? And then I want to have a discussion, and I know Daniel has some information I want to have a little bit of a discussion about what we could do for conditions or not. And is that okay, Sylvia, you good?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We, the neighborhood known as the McGuire community, have all spoken with each other and have corroborated below a list of concerns in regard to the allowance of this single unit residence, conditional use permit for a meditation and learning center for up to 12 people. Our first and foremost concern is the property in question is part of the McGuire community, which consists of 2 double unit residents and 10 single unit residences, 12 in total. We act and live as a neighborhood, connecting and meeting each other in the common drives of our private street. The McGuire community is a residential neighborhood not a business district. The children of our community use our private drive as their playground. On any given day, it is not unusual to see them on their bicycle, tricycle, skateboard, or playing basketball and volleyball on the drive. We, the residents, all feel this is the safest place for them and close to their homes and families, as well as familiar neighbors, and have taken personal measures for steps for their safety. By allowing the center and 12 extra vehicles to move freely around McGuire Drive, that will increase the traffic twofold, and these individuals visiting the center may not be aware of this private drive and that our children play here freely. Additionally, traffic will also increase the noise of our quiet, peaceful drive. Sadly, our concern is that this property is located on a private drive not owned by the County of Los Angeles, drive/street, and that the County of Los Angeles has no responsibility for the maintenance of the roadway. The County of Los Angeles requires that we, the homeowners, repair and personally maintain McGuire Drive, and LA County has no jurisdictions as to the usage of the drive. This was given to the discretion of the property owners. The drive is a no exit path providing access for 13-unit homes, of which 2637 McGuire Drive, the property in question, is part of. Will the conditional use permit also include added costs to their portion of the maintenance? It should also be noted that the drive at its widest is only 28 feet across. The priority of the roadway is for the property owners to park across from the residents where they do not have adequate parking on their prospective property. The use of these additional space for residents is used throughout the day, and we should not be inconvenienced by the applicant center users. The individuals parking to attend the center have designated space. Has anyone measured this? It truly does not meet the county standards for parking, and there is no allowance for ADA parking. If the guests park on the drive along the side of the roadway where residents currently park, and the only availability place for them to park raises the question of who will be responsible for the signage and enforcement of the parking. Thirdly, a meditation and learning center for 12 people does not adequately explain the hours or days of operation. Will these individuals coming to the center be daily, weekly? What is the duration of their visit? In addition, what type of meditation practices, noise, smells, etc., will be part of the business operations? All this affects how our neighborhood functions, our children's play area and time, and our own need for parking and personal use. Fourthly, we have great concerns as to the conditional use and zoning exception. Is there an expiration date? Does the variance transfer to the new property owner? What are the limitations of potential new property owner? What kinds of businesses are allowed under this zoning? And what, if any, does the community have for input as to who or what moves into the premises? Should the center close or move? For these reasons and considerable concerns that will change our wonderful community and neighborhood, we, the owners of the McGuire community, have signed the petition and collectively vote no to the conditional use permit. And so we have the signatures for all of the residents on the drive. I have individual emails as well. Please review my letter as below regarding the project 2637 McGuire Drive, Pasadena, into a meditation learning center for Buddhism. We are not in favor of this conversion for the following reasons. Code enforcement. They will not be able to enforce any parking restrictions on our street, if any, as McGuire Drive is a private street. Therefore, we will be helpless. Also, possibility of communicating our problems with the current resident of 2637 can also be a problem, as Miss Dan does not converse in English. Future implications. If license provision is not subjected to owner and timeline, there is no guarantee that new establishments will comply with some of the non-written commitments from the meditation center. Our house, 2629, is adjacent to their backyard and would definitely affect us. Responsibility. In case any of Miss Dan's clients have indifferences with the center and retaliate by damaging our neighborhood, will the entity be willing to take responsibility for that damage? We moved to this neighborhood in the year of 2012 because we felt it would be more secure and peaceful. If this reason is no longer valid, then we'll be forced to reevaluate our options. We love this neighborhood and we love to stay here for the foreseeable future. We have a 14-year-old son who also uses the street to practice his roller skates as the traffic is very low, and all the neighbors make sure to drive slowly and safely for the safety of the families in our neighborhood. We cannot expect the same diligence from outsiders frequently the center. We request that you do not approve the conversion of the single-family residence into a meditation and learning center, and we hope that you will consider our sincere requests and keep our neighborhood as it is, as a conversion will surely impact it adversely. Thank you, and I'm going to say this name. I know I'm going to say it wrong. Raghavendra and Pyra Harwadikar. I write this letter stating my opposition to providing a conditional use permit for the subject property, and I ask that my letter be added to the record at the next Altadena Land Use Committee meeting. During the Land Use Committee meeting on February 2nd, the chair of the Land Use Committee erroneously stated that McGuire Drive is a public road. McGuire Drive is a private road owned and maintained by the residents of the street. In fact, the road was just resurfaced at the expense of the 13 residents of McGuire Drive in the summer of 2019. I am concerned that the added traffic from this business will increase the cost to maintain the street, and because McGuire is a private road, these costs will be borne by the residents. I'm also concerned that as residents on a private road, the burden of enforcing the terms and conditions of the conditional use permit, if provided, will fall upon us. Will the sheriff come out to enforce the parking, maximum occupancy, noise levels, and hours of operation terms and conditions on a private road? The possibility of adding special conditions to the conditional use permit, limiting the number of people in the business to not more than 3 people, was also discussed. While this may be a way to eliminate potential parking issues, it does not address traffic concerns if patrons of the business come and go all day during hours of operation. The added traffic on this narrow street will be a safety hazard to the children who play in the neighborhood and will result in additional noise on the street. Finally, I was concerned by the statement during the February 2nd meeting that the conditional use permit, if granted, would be transferred to the next owner of the property. While the current owner of the property will likely respect her neighbors and the neighborhood enough to meet the terms of the conditional use conditions of the CUP, there is no guarantee that the next owner will. I respectfully ask that the Land Use Committee recommend against granting the conditional use permit as for the reasons I outlined above. Allowing a business in this residential neighborhood on a private road will detrimentally impact our community. James Axtell.
Okay, and Sylvia, did we get any other new ones since the last meeting, or the rest of them?
Those two were new. And these two are dated the 8th, which would have been after our meeting.
So they're right. So
these two are new that I'm going to read right now.
okay, all right. So we did not read them at the last meeting.
No, there was one that was no.
Okay, go ahead.
No. And I'm going to spell the name because I don't know how to pronounce it. My name is C-U-O-I. Last name is C-A-O. My house is on the corner of Altadena Drive and McGuire Drive. My family has lived in this home since 1988. Today, I'm sending you this email to express my concerns related to the project, conversion of the existing single-family residence into a learning center and meditation for Buddhism. The proposed meditation center is in the back of a preschool, which is located at the Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. Currently, we, my neighbors, and I are able to identify who are strangers to our area and who are not. My concern when the meditation center is in our residential community, how will we be able to identify adults who go to the meditation center versus strangers who are going to look around at the preschool children? People who walk on McGuire Drive can partially look into the classrooms on the second floor of the school when their windows and blinds are open. One of our neighbors called the LA County Sheriff's Station in Altadena about code enforcement on McGuire Drive. Deputy Reyes said that they have no enforcement on McGuire Drive since McGuire Drive is a private street and they cannot serve citations on a private street. So the burden of the enforcement will be on us. Can you let me know who I cannot, wait, hold on. Can you let me know who I and my neighbors will contact and what will we need to do if we see parking violations on McGuire Drive? There are 3 parking spots at the house. However, people can park on Altadena Drive and walk to the meditation center, which makes it very crowded and noisy. Can you place restrictions on the number of people at the meditation center as well as a noise level if the project is to be approved? Currently, the application says up to 12 people. With the added number of people, I'm wondering if the septic tank at the house will be able to accommodate the additional guests. Will the owner of the house have parking space and a bathroom reserved for disabled persons? Disabled persons have to use a disabled persons go to the meditation center as well. I'm sorry, I need to drink of water. Hold on. Hang tight. Lastly, if the project is approved, it will disrupt the harmony, peace, and quiet of a residential community forever. It will open the door up to other homeowners to request land use permits for various religious centers, bed and breakfasts, etc. The homeowners whom I refer to include those that reside on McGuire Drive and those that reside on the whole block enclosed by McGuire Drive, Altadena Drive, and New York Drive. She also wanted to add, to clarify item number 6 in the email I sent to you, I'm not objecting to the religious center opening up near my house, but I'm objecting to other homeowners who will take advantage of this to slowly transform my beautiful residential neighborhood into a business/commercial zone. My family has been living next to the Jewish Center and the preschool, and we don't have any problems with them. One last one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm writing about the proposed conversion of 2637 McGuire Drive in Pasadena, at which my family and our fellow McGuire Drive neighbors have many concerns, to name a few. McGuire Drive is a small, quiet residential neighborhood of 13 homes. The families have had invested in hundreds of thousands of dollars, or often more, into the purchase and upkeep of our homes, believing that it would maintain residential only. A changing of zoning could have a significant impact on the value of our properties, as well as the quality of life, a negative impact. McGuire Drive is a private road. The significance of this point cannot be understated. Los Angeles County claims no responsibility as to the maintenance of the street. We, the McGuire community, are solely responsible for this, along with the policing, cleaning, care, and repair of the street. As a community, we are invested approximately $40,000 to repair the street. The increase in traffic from this proposed conversion will add a significant increase to the wear and tear of the road. Additionally, we were informed by the Altadena Sheriff's Department Deputy Reyes that the Sheriff's Department has no jurisdiction on a private drive and would not respond to parking violations. Therefore, there is no street code enforcement. So how would we take action? Even the fire department has to back into the drive as there are no turnaround area on the street, meaning that they would need to impose on private properties if they entered head first. More traffic as well as an operating business creates more opportunities for accidents, emergency situations, and a higher probability that the police and fire patrols would be called. Though we were not able to attend the most recent council meeting, our neighbors were disheartened by the attitudes of some of the committee members who did not seem to have the residents' best interests at heart. It is of grave concern to us that this council is meeting to determine how we live, what type of plans, properties, and even businesses can be located on a private drive. And this would interact in our community without appropriate regard for our concerns and needs. As well, there seems to be confusion as to the specifics of what was initially proposed and what still needs to be determined. Therefore, it would be helpful to us, the residents who live here, to know what your considerations still are, so that we have a fair and equal opportunity to propose our opposition to those. Ultimately, we are concerned that any change of status to this property would stay with the life of the property, thereby leaving our small community vulnerable to business traffic, parking problems, and wear and tear on our road. Lastly, we have 3 children, all of whom use McGuire to bike, skateboard, play basketball, walk the dog, and a variety of other small activities that are possible because the road is private and therefore has minimal traffic. A majority of the houses in this neighborhood have children, all of whom use the street similarly. It is a privilege we have paid for and we will fiercely protect. Their safety will be compromised if this conversion is allowed to happen. For their sake and for the myriad reasons presented above, we are opposed to this conversion, and that's signed by Scott and Jennifer Teams.
Great, thank you. So I just wanted to say a couple of things. One of the things that we've heard as we kind of go down a list, I wrote some things down. So there was the complaint about the septic tank. The county now acknowledges that yes, there's a septic tank. If the project or if the change, which is not a rezoning, by the way, they're not physically rezoning that from an R1 to a C3 or something, right? It's not rezoning. There's a request for a conditional use permit that's going to allow things in that R1 property that would not ordinarily be allowed in an R1 property. That's what we're doing. It's not rezoning the property. So I want everybody to be really clear on that. The Department of Public Works will make sure if regional planning approves the CUP, Department of Public Works will make sure that, and the Health Department will make sure that the septic tank requirements are met. If there are requirements for any disabled people, the Department of Public Works and the Regional Planning Commission will make sure that those requirements are met. Okay, not a zoning change. I want to be really clear that it's not the Land Use Committee, nor is it the Town Council that is making any rules whatsoever. The rules that are in that run LA County are the county code, which every resident needs to, they don't always, but they're supposed to adhere to, that goes to the whole county. Overlaid over that is our Community Standards District Code, which is a bit more strict than some of the county code in some cases, and a bit more inclusive, I guess, for lack of a better word, for some of the other things that we do. So what everybody in Altadena has to adhere to is the LA County Code. And I'm not talking about building codes. I'm talking about usage codes and the CSD. Okay, so I just want to be really clear about that too. That is not anybody. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate. Sorry about that. Okay, so I just want to be really clear on that. Now, having said all of that, the reason that we are reviewing this project is because the homeowner that wants to put this business in is asking for exceptions to the CSD, right? So they're asking for exceptions to the code. And in order to do that, they have to get a conditional use permit. Whether it has conditions attached or not, it's still called a conditional use permit. So I am going to, so what the county code does not allow you, or I'm sorry, what the CSD, well, let Daniel explain because he's our CSD guru, but there is code in the CSD that was put in recently specifically to have home-based businesses placed into R1 locations. So Daniel, do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so you know, especially in light of the federal laws around this, I went back to look at what our CSD, which has already been approved and vetted by county council, had said about similar businesses in R1 areas. Because again, this is not a zoning change. This is an exception to our traditional R1 rules. And so I have those up here, so give me 1 second and I will bring those up so everybody can follow along.
While he's doing that, Diane, can you let Daryl in? He's been waiting about 10 minutes.
Pasadena Media has to let him in. I can't.
I emailed them. I mean, I chatted to them and they didn't.
Yeah. So maybe send them an email.
I don't have control of the room, sorry.
Yeah. So in any case, so there are a couple conditions that we have around home-based businesses here. And the first is we do have a number of home-based occupations. We have a number of employees. And then we also have here the number of clients that can visit simultaneously at that home-based business. In addition, there was a push by the community to have bed and breakfast properties allowed here in Altadena, where typically they would have been prohibited based on county code. And so that to me seems very similar, in terms of the conditions that we may want to put on this, in that, there was a limit on how many people could stay. There was a limit on how many guests could stay there. They could only have 3 or more, they could only have X number of rooms they could available for the guests. They had property of so many square feet, on-site parking, etc. And so one of the things that we need to keep in mind is they're asking for exceptions. Technically, by right, they could go in there and limit themselves to 1 visitor at a time,
Right.
To comply with the existing home-based occupations. So just a thought, we might say something to the effect of the county is, hey, we have rules for this. Our recommendation is they comply with the existing rules that were already vetted and had community feedback, just a few years ago. So that's it.
So what we're looking at, and we will come forward with in a minute, trying to figure out what we're going to do. But what I wanted to give everybody the thought about is that, so we have this whole religious thing that we know that we're going to be extra careful about putting requirements on that, because of the fact that it's a business there, right? So for example, in this neighborhood, it's entirely possible that one of the houses could be sold, and that the people that move in have 3 teenagers, all of whom are driving, and 2 parents, both of whom are driving, who have 5 cars that are coming in and out of the neighborhood, right? Okay, I don't want anybody to come after me about this. What I'm saying is, this is a possibility in the neighborhood that could happen. So if in fact that would be allowed, then we need to think about, right, what else would be allowed. In my opinion, in this situation where we are having a business going into a residential area, then I think that I agree with Daniel that we have already approved rules for home-based businesses, that if this business would meet those rules, they could go in by right and would not need to even come before town council or land use. And does everybody understand that or have any questions related to that?
I have a question related to that.
Okay, go ahead.
If we go with the prevailing rules, what do they lose? Is it that they want to be able to have 12 people there at a time, and the prevailing rules only allow 1 guest at a time? Would that be the conflict?
Yes. So currently, under the standard rules for non-bed and breakfast, it would be 1 client. So technically 2 clients, because you can have 2 home-based businesses by right, and each business can have 1 client. So that would be 2 clients by right. So that is significantly less. If we look at the bed and breakfast rules and recommend to the county that they should just take the bed and breakfast rules,
that would give them 3.
That would give them, well, potentially 6, because
Right.
you consider a guest room could have 2 people. So, but there are other rules around that too. And so, we could just say, go with the standard. And that is, we say no, and we think you should obey with our already pre-vetted standard, which you could go in by right. Or we could say, we suggest to the county that you make them follow the bed and breakfast rules. Because to me, based on reading the information Diane sent out on the federal laws, you're supposed to be similar. So we could say we have these bed and breakfast rules. This, while not a bed and breakfast, they're no more restrictive for a religious institution than a business that is allowed by right. So.
Okay, and two other quick questions. One, in the letters that were read, one of the complaints seemed to imagine that there would be 12 cars going all up and down the block. And my understanding is that the restriction that's already being placed is that it would be a maximum of 3 cars and they would be parked on the property. It seems that would eliminate one complaint. And I believe I heard in a letter that there was some sort of Jewish community center or day school or something that was right there as well. Did I understand that correctly? And if so, is that in fact the case?
So if I understood that correctly, so technically what the county is proposing is 3 parking spots. However, that does not preclude somebody from, 12 cars from driving up, dropping somebody else. Parking spots are different than actual traffic. So,
Right, and let me just say that the 12, so the original CUP application says that they want to be able to have 12 people there. That was, I think, where the neighbors were coming from on, okay, then each person could have a car. The county did listen to the complaints from the neighbors and then came up with the condition, which I can read again to you if you need it, but that they would put on the project, which says that they can't have any more than 3 cars at a time visiting, and all of those have to park on site.
Right.
So, yeah.
So where is the overflow parking? If there are going to be up to 12 people at the center at one time, and 3 of those people arrive in individual vehicles and park in the 3 provided spaces, where do the other 9 people park?
Well, I probably on Altadena Drive, which is public parking and can't be controlled. I mean, that's, the county says 3 parking places on site and you can only have 3 cars there. So in the case, and yes, you're right that the sheriff's station wouldn't be, even if they could enforce on or would enforce on a private drive, they would only be enforcing anything that's parked in the street there. Not in, and so county would have to come out as they would with any CUP. They would have to come out and enforce if people were parking more than the 3 parking places there. We'd have to get county code enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of things to consider. I don't know, especially in light of some of the research like I did on the federal laws. I don't know if we want to consider tabling this for until next time.
Well, so we can certainly do that if we feel that we have additional, we have all the feedback from the neighbors. None of the neighbors want to support the project. We have feedback from the county that says that, yes, they're aware of the septic tank that building and safety will take care of, that they will be putting, if they approve, remember, they're the ones that actually get to approve a project, not us. If they approve the project, that they will put in the condition about the parking that will limit the parking there to their 3 spots on site. Sorry, where are my notes?
But
any
what's it?
concerns about disabled accommodations, the county will take care of or require. I'm sorry, was there a question from somebody?
Well, I understand that, Diane, but has the county looked at, I mean, some of what they're saying in terms of the number of people wouldn't wouldn't necessarily even be allowed in our commercial district without sufficient parking. And so I'm, you know, I know the county has said, well, they'll do this, but have they really looked at it in relationship to the like already existing commercial rules we have and the already existing R1
Right.
home business rules?
Right. So, okay. So the county, where we are with this, and by the way, yes, it's taking a long time for this discussion. This is what we do. And I hope that everybody that's listening that maybe is not on the Zoom meeting understands the due diligence and the discussion and the thoughtfulness that we try to go through to accommodate what we can accommodate based on the fact that this body does not make any at all decisions about what is and is not approved. We have a couple of options. We can go back to regional planning. Well, let me say this, and I'm going to say this and go out on a limb. And if somebody prints this and goes out, I'll deny. No, I won't deny I said it. I'll say
Well, it's
it.
being recorded. So.
I believe, yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. That's right. I believe that that the county is set to approve this project without us. And so we have a couple of different options. They are looking to try to set a hearing. If we don't vote on it tonight, which is not, I'm not making anybody try to vote on it tonight. I'm just trying to let you know where we are with this. If we don't vote it on tonight, then we would not be able to give an answer to the county until, this is March, right? Until the end of April or the middle of April, whatever the third Tuesday in April is. And, you know, we'd have to go back to the planner and say, town council is not ready to give you an answer until the middle of April, or the third week in April. That's one option, and we can go back. I would need to make sure that we're very clear on what it is we're really going back to the county to ask them about, like what we have still outstanding that we don't know. If we deny any project, if we deny the project, we automatically, okay. We do not deny the project, the county denies the project. If we recommend denial of the project, then, and we do not have any, then we lose any ability to do any conditions at all. I'm just saying that's with every project we do. If we send down a denial and the county goes ahead and approves it anyway, then we've recommended denial and lost our ability to do conditions. And or we can recommend denial of the project and mention all of the opposition, which they're already aware of, but mention all the, in a letter, all the opposition from the local neighbors, and then recommend that the county require them to go in by right.
Diane, could I had a question and
Okay,
a comment.
Yeah.
It strikes me that there's a lot of complexity with the community standards district naming of business versus like the business with the one client for each two businesses in a home office business, home operated business, and then a bed and breakfast. This project seems to fall in between those two. And I think with the federal regulations about religious organizations, it strikes me that we are in a difficult situation, and I would propose that we table it to the next meeting so that we can come to the next meeting with each of us having a real clear sense of where we stand on those different kinds of businesses that already have regulations in our community, which we would be modifying on behalf of this particular business, which happens to be a religious organization.
Right. Let me just say one thing, Amy. We would not be modifying anything. To modify, if we're modifying the CSD, that requires a CUP.
I misspoke.
Recommend modifications, I think, is what Amy.
Right, I meant recommending.
But we can't change the CSD.
No, I didn't mean.
But
the
a
CSD.
CUP modifies a A CUP modifies
That's
the
what I said.
CSD
That's
by
what I said,
default.
right.
And so we can recommend conditions in a CUP for what we want, you know. And I mean, sorry, Amy, to
No, that's what
So-
I'm sorry, I was a little bit unclear.
No, I just wanted to make
Um,
sure that we weren't letting anybody think that we were actually modifying.
yeah, we can't modify the CSD. Sorry,
Right,
that ship sailed.
Yeah,
Plus, we
yeah,
have
that's
no-
right. That
we have
took
no
us like
ass-
3 years to get through.
But we have no assurances that it won't go to hearing before our next land use committee meeting.
Well, I can explain to Carl what the situation is and see what he says. That's, you know, it.
But I just want everyone to also know that, Diane, that
That's
we've
right.
come up with this before. If we
Yep.
already have a sense that county might approve this or is leaning towards approval, they don't have to wait for us to convene another land use committee meeting to run their hearing and make a decision themselves. I have one intermediate question. Is there no room between the 3 that would be allowed by right and the 12 that they're asking for? Is this applicant only amenable to the number 12?
Well,
Last
there-
month, he said that there would only be one person at a time. He said that in the meeting.
Yes,
I don't
but
know.
what he said and what they applied for are different. And this
That's
is
right.
why we must have the application when anyone is presenting any of these projects.
Right.
So the other thing I just wanted to raise, and Alan made this comment earlier,
Mhm.
that if you look on a map, so I just pulled up the Google map of this street, there is the Jewish temple and school on one side of Magyar. There's also the terraces at Park Marino, which is an assisted living facility on the other side. And both of those businesses or religious organizations, depending on which one you're talking about, actually abut the houses on Magyar Drive. So it strikes me that the concerns of the residents about the street and the children being in the street, that makes sense to me, that they're worried about the safety of the children. But I also believe that that neighborhood is already populated by organizations that echo or mirror this one. So I think that that's another question I think we should be really careful about in regard to the federal rules
Right.
around non-discrimination of religious organizations. And they actually mentioned, one of the letters actually mentioned, we're fine with the Jewish, school
Right.
and temple,
Yes.
but we're not so fine with the this potential Buddhist center, which might have incense. And it struck me that there was some complexity with the way that the residents are bringing their complaints to us. And I think that's where I feel really strongly that we can vote tonight, but I also feel very strongly that we should really be clear about how we look at this project in relationship to the larger context, not just of that one street, but the way that the buildings on that street abut other organizations that the community doesn't seem to be worried about.
Right. The other thing I do want to say is that the county will not deny a project because people want their children to play in the street. Right? I mean, that's,
So just looking, if we did want to vote on, or Billy, I'm sorry, you have a question, because I actually had given a little thought to some conditions if we want to talk about voting on it, but let's see if
Okay.
there's any more questions.
Well, what I was going to mention was if we vote no, we don't add conditions. And if we vote yes, we can add conditions. The neighbors have given us some good points from their perspective, but we still can. And as Daniel mentioned, even if we voted no, maybe we can't add conditions, but we can add the fact that we're voting no under the term that we do not want to give any leeway to the existing what's existing within the existing regulations, right? The existing rules. So we're not voting no to them doing it as long as they fall within the existing rules.
Yeah.
We just don't want them to go out of.
hang on just a minute. Go ahead. I think Alan has a question. Let me try to pull an email up, you guys. Just let me try to pull an email up. Go ahead.
Okay, yes. Two things. One, I agree with at the very least, allowing it within the most liberal construction of our existing regulations. It sounds like that would be the bed and breakfast, which would be kind of going halfway with them. However, the fact that there is such perfect unanimity, diametric opposition to this one project for reasons that just don't seem that strong. In fact, some of the letters halfway copy each other. What screams at me is that there's another reason that's just not being stated. So, and given the federal law, I think we should at the very least put ourselves in the most liberal construction of our existing rules and regs, so that we would not be in any way going against these federal rules, where I just have suspicions about the basis of this, the unanimity of opposition to this project on that block.
I just feel that this is a private street that's owned by the residents of the street, that there is no jurisdiction of that street from anybody other than the people who own it. And the people who own it who have deeds on that street.
So one of the issues though with that, Billy, is it's not a gated street. And if this was a gated street, this would be a different conversation at this point. It is technically accessible to the public. I mean, private street or not, if it's accessible to the public, that's a different matter.
Right. So I think I told you that I had talked to the county about this, you know, the business and everything. And one of the things that they said to me was, yes, one way to consider the project is that it is primarily a residence with part-time gatherings as a business. The CSD provisions on home-based occupations does apply if we look at it, you know, if they look at it that way. Hang on. Oh gosh. Okay. Where only one client visit or one client vehicle may be allowed per hour. However, there's no limit to the number of related residents with a T, people living in the house. It is good to note, though, that I believe the owner is living on her own in the house. This may not be too much of an issue in this particular case. So that, you know, I'm just saying they said, Carl Nadella, who's the planner, was looking at the one client visit per, like, not bed and breakfast. He was looking at one client visit per. Go ahead, Nick.
Hi. Okay, so I drove on the street today. Daniel's right. You can easily drive down the street. Amy, right. The centers that they're talking about, there's a wall between the street and they're not. I think the issue for the residents is that this meditation center would exist on the street. It
right.
wouldn't exist next to, so that wall kind of separates it.
Right.
And Victoria has a good point. I just say we take a vote, and if you're still confused or if you have more questions, you abstain. If you're against it, you say no tonight. If you're for it, you say yes tonight. We take these 2 weeks before. As I listen to Victoria, I agree. I think time might be of the essence, and this might get away from us, and you have 2 weeks to change your vote if you want to.
That's fine. I guess, though, I need now to know what I was going to recommend denial with using the CSD as a home-based business, but.
You can make that motion.
Well, anyway, okay. So in the matter of project number 2019-003-653-5, CUP RPPL 201-9006-453, conversion of a single family residence located at 2637 McGuire Drive into a mediation and learning center for Buddhism. I move that the Land Use Committee recommend to the Altadena Town Council that the request for CUP be recommended for denial. Further, I move that the ATC, Altadena Town Council, recommend to the Regional Planning Department that the business follow the existing CSD code for home-based businesses.
I second that.
Okay, is there any discussion or changes? Does somebody want to change what I wrote or amend any amendments to it?
Go ahead. I just want to make sure, like Amy and a couple others mentioned about maybe tabling it, they're welcome to make that motion. I don't want it to go, well, I should have done this, or this should happen. If that is your motion, you're welcome to throw that motion on the
That's true.
table. And if anybody votes to continue, that's fine. But right now, this is the motion on the table. If you do feel differently, that's up to you right now to make your voice heard.
Yeah, we can do that. Pat?
Diane, my suggest, or I think the motion should be revised to say that it follows the bed and breakfast, so that it more closely follows regular versus the standard home business.
If I remember correctly, then I would like to move that we approve it with the restriction that they do as they said in their presentation of only having one guest at a time, one client at a time.
But that
That's
would
not the
require them to
application.
reapply. That's not what we're
Oh,
voting
it can't
on.
be changed at this.
No,
time.
not at
No,
this
no,
point.
sorry.
Pat,
That's,
you want to let Pat,
go ahead,
It-
Pat.
It's kind of more of a question. If we would, let's say, deny the way that you said it, Diane,
Mhm.
does that mean that it falls back to whatever the county guidelines are?
For the guidelines for what?
Either way, the county can set their own conditions and not take our recommendations into
That's
account.
right.
And so what we're saying is we recommend that they deny it until the applicant basically follow either the home-based business, or I'm suggesting the bed and breakfast rules
Yeah, okay, all right.
around this.
But so I'm not sure I entirely understood the question, but they can still allow the CUP.
They can.
But I haven't heard anybody, honestly, of anywhere in the last two meetings, anybody recommend any really additional conditions besides about parking, and the county's taking care of that.
So, Daniel, under your suggestion, then they would have to reapply if the county denied it. They'd have to reapply using the.
The
No,
county
they go
could,
in by right.
well, they still won't be able to go in by right, Diane. They still would need a CUP, but we could tell the county that we think the county should use the bed and breakfast rules for this project, and the bed and breakfast rules are well vetted.
Okay, let me just say to you that based on my emails with Carl, I think that what he would do is go back to them and say, look, the Altadena Town Council and the community, they've gotten all, the county has all the complaint letters and the petition and all that kind of stuff. So I know we've been doing this for an hour, you guys, but it's just really important. This is one of the hardest projects I've ever done. So according to Carl, what he would do is go back and say to them, you're running into a problem with the residents and the town council. Would you be willing to just go in by right using the existing code and let them work it out? Let the county work it out about what our CSD says. Okay.
I agree with that.
Mhm.
So we
So
can
do we-
recommend, Daniel, we can recommend the bed and breakfast if we want to, but the county will go work that out to have them be able to go in by right.
Well, yeah, yes and no, because technically they're not a bed and breakfast. The county will, I'm sure will have them apply, but like I said, federal law says we can't set anything more restrictive. I actually agree with Alan that we should say, look, if you want to go in there and have this, we have well vetted rules for a bed and breakfast. Follow those and you're good, right? If you don't want to follow those, then that's where, and so I don't know if they've been told that, right?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say to you. Carl said, if we go back and say to them that he'll go talk to them. The planner said, and can I just say to everybody, I know we're tired now, I'm going to start losing my patience a little bit. The CSD, there's a link to the CSD, I believe, on our website.
And I put a link in the chat.
Okay. So if you need to go look at the CSD and look up what it says about any of the things that we're talking about, or even just get yourself familiar with what the CSD says, please just go out and look at it. and look up what we're talking about for the home-based business.
Well, and to be clear, the bed and breakfast actually has a rule in it, says it still requires a CUP, Diane.
All right,
So-
okay. So then I'm lost. Now I'm lost, and I don't know what people would like to do for a motion.
Well, we
And
need
I
to,
will tell you that what will happen is that if we send a letter down, if it goes through town council and they agree with our motion and they send it down as a recommendation, that it will go down, it will say bed and breakfast, and the county will work it out with them to figure out how they go in by right.
Well, but the bed and
Because
breakfast
if they
rules
have to
don't
start
say
with
they
another
go
if they
in
have
by
to-
right.
If they have to start with another CUP, they will come back here and start.
so
all
we
over.
had, I guess my concern is we've got a motion and we have a second. So where are we with the motion?
Yeah.
Are we amending the motion? Are we retracting the motion?
No, we can vote on that motion. I just want to make sure that everybody,
Okay.
and then if
I
somebody
move
wants to make-
that. I
Wait,
move that the
Alan, you
motion
can't
be
move.
amended.
Hold on, you can't move. We've got a motion and a second. We have to contend with those first. But Diane, your motion then would revise the language to
to
have
change it to
them
be the code for
Bed
Daniel
and
wanted to
breakfast.
have it changed to bed and
bed and
breakfast,
breakfast. Okay.
home-based
And you-
business.
You can make a motion to amend this motion.
Right, and that's what I
but
was
you would
trying
need
to
the
do.
vote- You would need that vote for that amendment. Otherwise.
Yeah.
it-
Well, we
That's-
have a recommendation for an amendment and a second, I think, that adds bed and breakfast, home-based business in there. But Alan, what did you want to do?
I think it would be easier to just be non-specific. In other words, we suggest that you go in by right using existing rules and regulations within that we have. In other words, let them find bed and breakfast instead of telling them to use bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
But let
County,
them-
if we're not specific, the county won't take it. I'll tell you right now, dealing with them.
Right.
So,
No, we
I
have
mean,
to
we
point
can
the
make
way.
you can make that motion, but they'll ignore it. The county will ignore it.
So you have to point the way.
You gotta point the way.
Well, if you don't, then everybody turns around and says, we didn't even make a suggestion. Like we just
Okay.
said here, we just punted.
That being the case, I agree with.
Okay, so are we have, I think, can somebody just confirm if we got a second on the amendment?
I'll
Motion.
second the amendment.
Okay,
I'll second the amendment.
all right, so I am changing then the last part of that to read that the business followed the existing CSD code for the bed and breakfast home-based business.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, and just vote however you want to vote. We'll keep track. Okay, all those
Can
in
you-
favor?
Sorry, Diane, can you read the whole thing again? Because is this a recommendation to deny?
Yes,
Okay, I just
I
wanted to be
move-
clear about what I'm voting on.
yeah, that's what I said. I move that the Land Use Committee recommend to the Altadena Town Council that the request for CUP be recommended for denial. Further, I move that the ATC recommend to the regional planning, that the Altadena Town Council, sorry, I wrote it down, Altadena Town Council, recommend to the regional planning department that the business follow the existing CSD code for bed and breakfast home-based business.
I second.
So I think we're well past that. Okay,
Okay,
and
good.
all those in favor say aye. Put your
Aye.
hands up. Put your hands up if you will, so we can count. Okay, so I see, Pat, can you help me count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can somebody confirm that?
6, 7, 9. I got 9.
Okay, can you put your hands back up again, please? Sorry.
1.
Okay, I've got Pat, that's 1, Chris 2, Daniel 3, Victoria 4, Doug 5,
5, 6.
Billy 6, Alan 7. There was another hand up. Okay,
Kristen,
somebody else.
Sylvia.
Oh, Sylvia. Okay, wait. All right, so I had 8, not 9.
Okay.
Okay. Opposed? hands up, please. 1,
Amy,
2. I see 2. Okay,
Correct.
and abstain? 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
Is that 4?
It's 3. It's Nick and Dorothy and Daryl.
And Veronica.
Veronica
Oh,
too.
Veronica, I didn't see your hand. Sorry, my friend. Does that add up, Diane?
I don't know. That adds up to 14. That's right, Pat?
Yep.
But without me, I don't vote.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
good.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
guys very much. Okay, I'm sorry.
That was fun.
Yeah, well, and you know, just be glad that you weren't here when we used to have another chairman of our town council. Okay, so I think these other ones are going to move along quite quickly. Well, let's see, please, if we can do that. Daniel Harlow, 1702 Coolidge.
So after that, we have 1702 Cooley. I'm going to not read you the entire RPL, which we did at the beginning. It is an application for a minor conditional use permit to change the rear setback from 25 feet to 20 feet for the construction of a single-story master bedroom. So we have the applicants here, and I believe it's architect Mark. We have Joe and Mark here. I'm going to quickly share my screen. They're going to just give you like the 2-minute rundown of this. Doug's going to tell you about the feedback we got from the neighbors, and then we'll take any questions. And I'm hoping we can vote on this since it is a minor CUP. So Joe, you able to unmute yourself there before I share the screen? Sure, he's good. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm good. Yep.
Okay, so I have the plans, or the most key portion of the plans up. So if you want to give them a quick rundown.
Okay. Joe, you want me to go ahead?
Or Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay, all right. Okay, so what we have here, like you were saying, the addition of the master suite, which includes the master bedroom, bath, and closet. We do have alterations in other areas. So we've got, besides the master suite, we've also made alterations to the kitchen. As you can see, we've opened things up to visually expand the kitchen and give it a better flow. You could see that compared to the as-builts, we've added a peninsula and opened up the wall between the dining and kitchen, and then expanded the dining room by a few feet just to accommodate the flow around the dining table. Also opening up a little more between the dining and family room with a large opening. And bedroom 2, bedroom 2 down in the lower, which would be right next to the master, to the left of the master. Adding a better closet situation for that bedroom. And then configuring an existing closet into the laundry room. So with all that done, we have what would currently be a substandard garage size. So that's what triggered the need for the variance, is to allow the addition and remodeling with keeping the garage size the way it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sorry. There is 2 parts. So not only is there the garage sides that Mark mentioned, it's also this rear setback.
Rear setback, right. So.
Yeah. So, and then this is the ridge and the look. There is some side details. You all saw this. They're matching the house very well. I don't know if you have any comments on that. I think you guys designed it.
Yeah, we're trying to just continue the character of the house, utilizing the similar materials that are existing and bringing that into addition to make it more, or to enhance the continuity of the addition and the existing.
So just for reference, we have some photos of the existing area where this is going. So you see it there. So before I stop sharing my screen, is there anything any committee members want to look at specifically?
Danielle, it's Victoria.
Mhm.
I'm just confused. You brought up the garage, saying that there's two parts, that the garage factors into this minor CUP, or it doesn't?
Well, if you look at the documents that were set out earlier, if they want to use a garage area, they can't use the garage area because we require garages here in Altadena,
Mhm.
right? So they put the addition on the back of the property,
Got it.
which triggered the 20-foot setback.
Oh, that's what we're
issue.
saying. The garage has to do that. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I just needed to know the setback.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the specific thing is the minor CUP for the setback. This is probably the most common CUP or minor CUP that we get in front of this committee.
We just had one.
Yep, we just had one last meeting. So I can't see anybody's hands because of the screen share. Is there any other questions? Okay, Doug, you want to tell them all about the feedback? And
Absolutely. We distributed flyers to 15 residences in the area describing the project, the purpose of our notice, if you will, and it included both my contact information and Daniel's. We attempted to identify, and then we identified the 5 homes that were immediately adjacent to the property and tried to get a hold of those people by telephone. Again, we opted to this approach primarily due to COVID and social distancing and being respectful of our neighbors. And of those 5 properties, we were able to, one of them, the phone number was a voicemail. It wasn't even set up. It just went directly to voicemail. The other one was a neighbor that has no issues with it at all. And then the third one, again, we found 2 phone numbers, and I tried them both 2 days in a row and left a voicemail on one, and then the second number just went to voicemail full. And so I had no success there. Another neighbor on Veranda had no concern. His only concern was noise during construction. And I let him know that there would be construction time limits to minimize that disruption. And he was understanding and was fine with that. And then the 5th one, we were not able to come up with a phone number. So that was pretty much the consensus. Really no negatives of the people that we were able to get a hold of.
well, Doug, there was the one neighbor who had concerns about the view, and I believe, Joe, you addressed that with him directly, correct? Oh, we cannot hear you, Joe. Oh, no.
I'm sorry. Well, yeah, the neighbor at 1694 Coolidge did have concerns about the view. And he and Joe did speak sometime between my initial conversation on Thursday, and I received an email from Stuart, the neighbor, on Sunday, indicating that they had talked about it, and he was fine with it, and had no, they reached a resolution. I don't know all those details, but he had no concerns or opposition to moving forward with the project.
So is there any additional questions? Otherwise, I'd like to make a motion. Not
I'll
seeing
make that
any.
motion, or I'll second it.
So I'd like to make a motion that the Land Use Committee recommend that the Altadena Town Council recommend for approval minor CUP RPPL 202101471 for project PRJ 20210000727.
I will second.
Without conditions.
without any conditions.
Okay. Who said second? Daryl. Daryl is seconding. Okay. All those in favor of recommending to the ATC approval of 1702 Coolidge minor CUP without conditions, say aye.
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 Okay, opposed? Abstain? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you for your patience, Mark and Joe.
Okay,
Yeah.
how about 972 Parkman?
Hold on. So
Oh, sorry.
Diane, you want to tell them the spiel about the town council meeting in 2 weeks?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. I know, I'm like moving along. Yes, so same bad time, same bad channel. We'll send you the link to the meeting in 2 weeks that will go through it won't be quite as complex as it was tonight. This is the working committee. And so we'll go over it at the ATC and vote on it at the ATC in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tonight.
Thank you very much, Joe and Mark. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
972 Parkman.
Okay, so I sent all of you some documents last week about 972 Parkman. The owner, Mr. Shannon, who's here on the call, and his designer are asking for a minor CUP in order to basically legalize changes that were made to the house over 20 years ago prior to the purchase of the home by Mr. Shannon. I went to the house and I met with him and his designer. We walked the property. It's clear to me that those changes have been made many, many years ago. And I believe in conversation with regional planning that one of the reasons for this current CUP request is not only to bring the home into compliance with the rules of the county, but also to do so because there's a desire in the future to go through the proper permitting processes for any further modifications to the home. It's my recommendation, and I would like to make a motion that we recommend approval to the Altadena Town Council of this minor CUP for 972 Parkman. And let me just make sure I get the number right. It is, let's see, sorry about that. Why can't I find the number right now? Oh, here it is. RPPL 2020-097-729-72, sorry. RPPL 2020-009-772. And if there are any questions that people have, I believe you've seen all the documents. I did, in my email, I did contact the neighbors 3 deep on either side of the home, as well as 5 across from the home. I submitted a letter detailing the request. I received comments from 3 of the neighbors, including one neighbor directly next door. All neighbors were in support of the project and seemed to believe that this legalization and the minor CUP would enhance the neighborhood, and they were very much in support of the project.
Did we get a second?
Okay, before we get a second, can you please just add without conditions into your?
Yes. Okay. So
Sorry.
I'm going to write the motion into the.
Okay.
So I move that we to the Altadena Town Council approval of the minor CUP number RPPL 2020-009-772 at 972 Parkman Street in Altadena without conditions.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay.
I have a
Oh,
quick
go
question.
ahead. I'm sorry, Billy, go ahead.
Okay, just for the record, I know Amy sent out all the information, but this is the land use, so just for the record, what is it, the detail of it? It says to make an addition legalized. What is the addition? Is it a extension of the bedroom? Is it following the architectural line? What's the square footage? Like what, just a basic description for the record for land use right now. What is it that we're looking at approving or not approving?
You're on mute. Amy.
Yes, sorry. I wonder, Mr. Shannon, would you like to talk about the property since you're here?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah. It's just permitting the bottom space of the home that was, it was originally, I think, the garage of the property that was underneath and attached. The former owner took the space, and there's now a bedroom, laundry, and family room and bathroom down there.
And it's underneath the house.
Yes, it's underneath the house.
And there is an extra garage somewhere.
Yeah, there's a garage as well.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that.
Well, and just to clarify, according to the application, it's the same as my project was. It's encroachment into the 5 foot and setback on the side. Okay. And that's what the CUP is for, is to allow that, or minor CUPs allow that encroachment.
Thank you. I just wanted the details in.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay, so any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor of recommending to the Altadena Town Council that this project be recommended for approval without conditions, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your patience.
We'll see you in 2
Thank
weeks.
you.
I'm not going to forget this time. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Amy will get you the link for the meeting. We'll do the same thing. That meeting will be long though, so like this one.
Unlike this one.
Yeah, it's going to have a lot more things in it than just this. So you can probably come later, or whatever.
Bring snacks.
Yeah.
Another meeting on this point?
Or bring snacks. I'm sorry.
There's another meeting on this point?
Yeah. So this, as I said, this is the working committee of the Altadena Town Council regarding land use. So it's the land use committee, and we do the legwork and figure out, as you could hear, right? Figure out all the code, the questions, blah, blah, blah. We're going to recommend to the Altadena Town Council that the Altadena Town Council is the official body that needs to vote on this.
Okay, got it.
And that's 2 weeks from tonight, same place, same time.
Got it. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, Weaver Way.
Yes. This is Dorothy, and then Hannah representing since
We can't hear you. Oh, did we lose her? Where'd she go?
I don't see her anymore.
Gone.
Hannah, we lost her.
Yes, until she comes back, I could say we've been talking to a lot of the neighbors. We've only had one neighbor express concern, the one directly east, in terms of shading on her property. But we've collected, I don't know, at least 6 people who are okay with it. But she's got, I believe, she's got written letters by the owners who collected those letters of support. So I think she was about to read those. I don't have those, however.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, is she back?
Can you guys hear me?
Kind of. Where?
Can I just
No,
make a
hello?
suggestion about the letters? If we were having public comment, they would only have 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's
So I
fine.
think the letters should be 2 minutes. I mean,
Right.
I think
Well,
that would
we have-
help.
Yeah,
prove
we
it.
didn't have any, right. So we'll do the letters under public comment, but Dorothy, you're on mute.
Hear me?
She's not
Hello,
on
can
mute.
you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Yeah,
So
what happens
let's
when,
do, do your summary. Is your applicant online with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good to know. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Dorothy.
so yes, yeah, if you can hear me, I think I see everybody here, so you should be able to hear me. So this is a project, I'm gonna read the number now.
No, we have it. Go ahead.
Basically, this is 100 Reaver Way. Yes. And it's situated on the cul-de-sac, dead-end street, with approximately 22 homes. The project is to request to modify the Altadena Community Standards District Development to authorize the building height. And then as we go through the presentation, there are actually 2 variants to be described. But as listed with regional planning, the building height of 32 feet, 6 inches instead of the required 30 feet. And then we will then go into different height. So we'll describe that during the presentation. And then there is a oak tree encroachment permit with that I shared all the information with you guys, but we're not voting on that. It's my understanding.
That's right. That's not part, right. We don't do oak trees.
Yes, and then the permits are requested to accommodate the demolition of the existing home, reconstruction, as well as a single family residence, construction of an additional dwelling unit. So the request related to development standards is for the height modification. There are no additional setback issues. This is from regional planning. The required front yard setback is 20 feet. The rear yard setback is 35 feet and the side yard is 5 feet. Based on the plan review, there is no need for a modification to the side yard setbacks. The development would be required to meet a side yard setback of 10% of the average lots with a minimum of 5 feet. The development as planned meets this requirement. The plan shown a proposed 5 feet side setback. The project has been reviewed against the requirements for ADUs and meets the required proposed ADU, which is 653 feet, and it needs to be under 1,200 square feet, and allows for a 4 foot, but we'll hear the presentation, and a rear yard setback. So with that said, I will turn it over. I want to introduce our homeowners. We have Andrea Dalton, and we also have Omari Thomas, if you want to say hello. And then from there, we will go to Gregory Williams to give the presentation. So Omari or Andrea, would you like to speak? You can unmute yourself.
I just want to say hello to everybody. I'm Omari, and it's my fiance, Andrea. I'm not sure. And we're just here. Yeah.
Precinct 2.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gregory Williams from Mass Architecture. I'm here with Chris Cortez, who's the job captain on this project. And
Can we share your screen? Can we share your screen?
Sure.
You have that capability?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just 1 second.
Thank you.
Can you guys see the present? It's a little laggy.
Okay, I'm just going to do a quick briefing of the project here. My clients purchased this lot, and which consists of the 10,000 square foot lot with an existing house of 1,042 square feet. The proposed new construction is a 2-story house with 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, total square footage of 3,324 square feet, living area, 454 square feet of garage, and 653 square feet of ADU. As Dorothy mentioned, we're applying for 2 variances. One is the overall height, and I'm just going to read you the first paragraph of the findings that we're going to be submitting. The applicant relief from strict adherence to the maximum height table, which requires a maximum 30 feet height limit for R1 zone properties under 20,000 square feet. The subject property has a gentle downslope from front property line to the rear property line. The finished grade elevations at the northwest corner of the property is 1483.48. And the finished grade elevations at the rear southwest corner of the property of 1469.58. The elevation of the properties drops 13.9 feet from front to back. We have our current design that shows that, when we go to that, to the model showing the roof pitches and what's over it. But the other one with the top. No. One with the showing the maximum height. Oh. There. Okay. So as I was mentioning, how the topography of the lot slopes from front to back from in a difference of 13 feet. So our current design has 2 gable roofs, which accommodate the 2nd story. That gable roof construction and plan as it's being presented is in compliance at the front of the house where the elevation is greater, and is non-compliant in the back because of the slope. So there's a more than a 2-foot difference between the front and the back, which accounts for the house being over the 30-foot height limit at the rear east corner, which is the lowest 0.5 feet within the building. So that's the first variance we're requesting, and that height. The variance request is for 29. Let's see. 2'6" inches above the 30 feet. So that's variance number 1 that we're requesting. Variance, variance number 2 is there's a requirement that within 15 feet of any property line, the roof structure cannot be greater than 23 feet. Which is a cumbersome ordinance to comply with. If you look at the property, the width of the property is 49.08 feet. And to comply with the ordinance, 15 feet setback on both sides would only leave about 19 feet in the center of the house in which it could accommodate a pitched roof for a 2-story structure. It's a terrible hardship on the clients in the design for a 2-story structure for their growing family to be able to not have a traditional style house with a pitched roof. So that's the second variance request. The second variance request is to allow the roof structure over 23 feet in height within 15 feet of the side yard setback. Any questions?
Are we ready for questions?
So let's see. So we talked about the project. I was writing a note down. We did. There was one other thing. We have the setbacks.
Setbacks, building setbacks, we're in compliance. It's the roof, it's essentially the roof height. So the building code allows us to be 5 feet away from the property line, but it does not allow that structure within 15 feet to be higher than 23 feet.
Now, I've had properties in my census tract who's requested variances to the side yard setback, and they have 2-story homes with a raked roof that are within 23 feet. And they kept it within 23 feet with a 2-story with a raked roof, not a flat roof. So I'm, I've actually, so that is possible. I have seen it. So in this case, obviously you've gone for a bigger cable on the roof or a bigger rake than what could be. I just wanted some definition to that. You mentioned the flat, but I have seen them at 23 feet, and we have approved them at 23 feet with a raked roof for 2-story.
Yes, if the design were a hip roof instead of a gable, that it would still be difficult to achieve. We've canvassed the community, and we've identified other properties within the community, within the immediate neighborhood, with setbacks similar to ours, 5 feet, with structures that have roof areas that exceed 23 feet requirement.
Can you put that on the screen?
Put that on the screen.
The
Dorothy,
map?
what's been the feedback from the neighbors?
So the feedback from the neighbors, there are 22 homes that are on Reaver Way itself. And we got 7 okay with the project. We had 1 concerned and 1, obviously the neighbor on the east side has again, I can read the letter, but ultimately the resident there has concerns about the impact of the height as it relates to her property. So she has a request. I can share that.
Dorothy, just so I understand, are these letters, did you go talk to or contact the neighbors directly?
Yes, we talked to people. We didn't, everyone did not respond back at home necessarily. We did not talk to everybody on the street. We talked to, I talked to people on Laurel. We didn't have a huge concern, but again, we had 10 responses back from 22 or 21 homes, and 7 of the 10 were okay with it. 1 was concerned, right? Is that what I said?
Yeah.
And then 7 were okay with it. 1 had no concern. 1 was concerned and 1 was against it.
Okay.
7 were in favor.
Do we still need the screen sharing up? Everybody, is there something else you want to look at? Or
yes, there's another. We did, to address the concern in regards to the neighbor to the east. We did the solar sunshade calculations. You want to bring that up?
Right, and then also, go ahead.
Okay. So we looked at the shade conditions in summer, fall, and winter, and the the condition on the property to the east only there's shadow thrown on the property to the east only to within their property, but it does not. That's the diagram furthest to the left. And you can see there this sunshade there, and you can see the shade that's being projected down at 4 p.m. So that was the most severe condition that existed in regards to the 3 time zones we took. You can see in the middle diagram, there's, of course, in the summer, there's very, very few shades that's being thrown off the property. And in the AM, like in the morning, in the summer, you can see there's a little casting of shadow to the property to the west, but again, it's not covering the structure itself, but it's kind of being maintained within the side yard setback.
I can read.
For me, the biggest concern I have in this situation is, as we mentioned earlier, is the Altadena CSDs. There was a whole committee of community members. I don't think there was anyone from town council on that committee that spent 4 years working out the regulations. And one of the big issues that the community wanted was not to create the look like cities like Arcadia has, where you end up with these big structures that go wall to
Right.
wall and extra height and everything else. It wasn't the square footage, it was the impact, the visual impacts that it has on the community. So this was something, these standards, the community standards district, they just spent about 4 years in a working committee to come up with these that was all inputted from the community and from all over the community. And so if we are looking at things that goes against what community members came up with recently, this is not an old ordinance, then we got to be really careful about setting precedents, because this is what the community told us they wanted. This was what was vetted through the community and through county. And so if we set precedents by just ignoring those standards that was put forward, we just have to be careful. It's not as straightforward, oh, this is a regulation from a long time ago. This is something that was being vetted over years within the community. So I want to make sure that I take all viewpoints in here, and I'm sensitive towards that committee as well.
Can we stop screen sharing so we can see everybody, please?
Yeah, that's what I was asking earlier.
I have a question. The people who had a concern, or the one that was against the this project, were they near neighbors? Was it the next door neighbor? Was the people on the block, were those the ones nearby?
Sure. So so that question first, and then I can give you overall comments from the other folks that we heard from. We can continue to comb everybody and more, but we did get, about 10
what
responses.
110
So
say and what 98 say? That's who matters here. What did those two say?
The next door neighbors?
Yeah, the immediate next door neighbors.
Yeah, that's
I don't care about people who live on the other end of the block. I want to know what those next door neighbors said.
Right. So basically 88 and 90 are on the east side. I'm sorry, 110. Oh, 88 and 90, right? Now you made me nervous. Let's see.
98 and 90 are on the east side.
Yeah.
And 90 has signed a letter of support. And also the neighbor that's adjoining us directly to the west, she's in full support also. I believe the lady.
Yeah, that's 110.
110, and then the lady who expressed some concern about shadowing is 98.
Is 98, okay.
And there's also a driveway that separates, in order for 98 and 90 to get to their properties, I guess there's a driveway.
Yeah, it's like a flag lot.
it's a driveway. I think it's about at least 12 to 15 feet. And if you looked at the shade scenario that the architect delivered, it shows that pretty much at no point does the sun ever throw that way, because the sun rises on the east and it travels south and then it sets on the west. And due to the fact that when the sun is at its highest point to actually throw the most shadow, it throws it forward onto the street. And directly across the street, we also have the support of his name is Louis. So he's the only person to the front where the sun actually truly affects. On also 111, she's given us support. So just to let you know, just the circumference that goes in a circle who was in support.
Yeah, because the concern that I had, I looked at these shade. Matter of fact, I asked for those shade stays last time, and my concern was, one, how to impact the neighbors directly next to it, and also on the other side, especially that 110, because looking at the shade model, it looks like that will provide significant shade for their house. Now, some people don't mind. I personally, that would cut my air conditioning bill if that was the case, but you know, we want to make sure that they're okay with this, because one of the main things that Billy pointed out is those setbacks, it wasn't just for the height and look of it. The biggest concern was light and air, right? And so they didn't want buildings coming directly up to that setback that blocked their light and air, which would be their enjoyment of their property. And so it's a big concern. I understand you have support from people who live 5 doors down, but those immediate neighbors, it's just like on my project, we called those immediate neighbors to make sure they were okay.
So Dorothy, do you have actual letters from 98 and 110 that you can read? Or emails, whatever they are?
Yeah, 90, but a home that has the concern I wrote down is address 88, but you guys are saying it's 98. So maybe it is 98. I wrote down 88. So I do have concerns from the neighbor we want to look at Google.
And I just wanted to say, so we're all clear, we basically have 4 neighbors that directly are adjacent to our property, because 98 and 90 are two owners on the same parcel, in the sense that we would be encroaching on. So we have the family in the back, and I'm sorry if I may use the wrong number. I might say it's 98 or 90. Who's in the front? Is it 98 at the front? Yes. 98 at the front, and the rear is 90. We have the support of 90. To the west, which is Mrs. Matlock, we have her support, and her property is not really truly just to our west. Her property is also fully on the south side of our property. Her property is an L-shaped property that goes all the way over and actually ends behind of 90. So she's behind 90, 100, as well as hers. We have her support now. We haven't been able to get a letter from her directly just yet, which we'll have soon. She is in Georgia, has been there for almost 1.5 years. And the house is kind of, her son is in and out, but she's been kind of on a sabbatical. So, but I just wanted to make sure we're clear on exactly, as you guys stated, your concern as who is being encroached upon. 110 to the west, who actually represents west and south of our property. The next property, which is 90, we have their consent. And I just want to make sure that I think I relay, so we're all on the same page, that I truly understand exactly what you're saying, and who's in support and who's not in support. There's only one non-supporter, and that is 98, which is the front unit on that property to the east.
Great. I would still like to hear the exact words from those neighbors. So if Dorothy, you can proceed, thank you very much.
So 98 seems to be the number. That's the frontmost house on the east side neighbor. And the neighbor, her notes to me, she was concerned and she thinks the project is overbuilt for a very small street, very thin street. And she's concerned about, again, casting the shadow and on her land, including her cedar tree, which is directly in between the two structures and fruit trees. She feels like it could have an impact, perhaps of a wind tunnel, and there are no other houses like it on that street, aside from there is a two-story house at the corner of Reaper Way and Glenrose. So she said our small streets, even the street cleaner, and I did talk to other people, how everything has to kind of do these crazy turns to find their way back on the street. And so she is requesting some form of an impact study. So I don't know what kind of condition it would be, to understand the project's effect on her property. So she feels like she will be impacted. And then with the garage that's going to be built kind of towards the front. So I think, a better conversation or perhaps a better interaction with her, because I had to explain a lot of stuff to her. Ultimately, she's concerned that the garage that will be built towards the front, where currently is her living room looking out of her window, although that one is not above the height, but it's kind of forward, that she'll lose that view, and then the rest of her property will have, she's concerned about the height. So that was her words from 98 Reaper Way. And then I can just give you some highlights. I think people kind of saying that it is a quiet street. There were a couple people concerned about the size, but then they also recalled the history of the streets and that anything that improves, can be an improvement for everybody. Concerns of parking, because the street is very narrow. It's not just this one house. If the next one builds and we keep building, where all the cars is going to fit. And I have to, I was just there, there were cars coming and going in terms of seeing a lot of impact already. So this could be precedent setting further.
Sounds like she's frozen again.
I just want a clarification. I keep hearing the roof line having a variance of only 2 feet. But from what I'm seeing, it's not 2 feet. It's 20. If 25 feet is the ordinance at the 5-foot setback, then we're looking at a variance of 9 feet in height, not 2. Either that or the 5 feet, or we're looking at allowing a variance from 15 feet to the 5 feet. So it's one or the other. It's like it's not 30 feet. It's 30 feet in the middle, yes, but to the sides, to within a 5 feet setback, you're looking at a variance from 23 feet to 32 feet. Correct? Am I correct in that? Daniel, you know those.
Well, I was just saying, the architect's on, he can answer that question.
Yeah.
I mean, they provided us renderings that show that the setback or the variance is a lot more than 2 feet.
Right.
And so everybody needs to get that clear. It is highlighted by their own architect. This is not a 2-foot variance. It's a 2-foot height, but it's 7 feet on one side and 10 feet on the other. And so, and just, I want to be sure we're focused. I know the neighbor had a complaint about the garage and whatnot. That is not the item we're considering for variance. That is a by right build. So we don't really need to consider that. Right. What we really need to look at is the height, and so
the square footage is by right.
The square footage is by right too.
Everything else is fine. It's just those variances with the.
Yeah. So I just want that to be clear, that we're not concerned about the garage putting up front, even though that we did get feedback that was a concern.
Can I finish ish? So ultimately, the people we did talk to were like, we're okay with it. So as you've described, the people across the street, as Amari described, but definitely the neighbor closest to it and a couple other folks were concerned about the street and how this would impact if everyone keeps doing this. But I was amazed, again, as comparables, thinking about that, there were, as I was combing around the neighborhood, Laurel, literally, one street south of that has two-story homes. So across Laurel, I think
Dorothy, are they two-story homes with a variance, or are they just two-story homes that are within code?
I saw at least a couple that were within their Palm Street where I live, near Palm and Olive. There's definitely a house there that definitely doesn't have 15 feet on each side. I can get you the address.
I'm talking about the height variance though. So here's I have a question. So this is, I'm concerned that there are enough questions about what the height variance based on the. Go ahead. If you want to interrupt me, go ahead. Who wants to?
No one.
Okay, I thought somebody wanted. Okay, it's okay, but I feel like we need to understand from the planner that the planner that the planner is seeing what we're seeing, and that in fact they are agreeing to the fact that the height variance based on the setback is of concern. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah, so here's the thing, at least Diane, when I looked at this project, and maybe others will agree and don't, we looking at the winter sun study, and especially the shade of the 110 house, we absolutely must have something in writing from that homeowner. I understand she's not here, but if you look at that winter sun study, it has significant impact on her property. The 98, I would have to agree with your opinion that has minimal impact based on the sun studies now that I see them. But that 110, like, you can just look at it, it shades her entire house, which could impact her ability to put solar panels in on it. The other thing is I did look at the pictures that you provided that Dorothy emailed out during our meeting of comparable homes. I am not seeing any homes that have a roof line that is similar to what you're requesting in that packet. All the peaks go north-south and not east-west. And so were these just examples of ones over 23 feet high? I'm confused, because it's one thing to ask for a slope where it's, a foot or two on the side. You're asking for 30 feet right, or 32 feet right to the edge of the property. And to give the committee an idea, we only allow commercial buildings to be 35 feet.
Right.
So here's a house that's just shy of a commercial building. And the examples, to be frank, that you provided us don't have any roof lines that match. And matter of fact, your own architect is saying, well, it's impossible to do this slanted roof on the side, yet every single house you provided is slanted roofs on the side and not 32 feet up to the edge. So we really need to have examples of other properties that got this same variance for this, because I was on that CSD committee. We spent like a year just on this issue alone.
Yes, correct.
So on light and air, both for commercial and residential properties. And the consensus from the community, and we're talking hundreds of members, is they didn't want these boxes going up 32 feet in a residential neighborhood. So, and I'm just not, you know, I'm familiar with some of the CSD or some of the CUPs we've done in the past for this, but it's always been, oh, well, we need to do a slant and we can't quite make the angle. So we need, you know, 25 feet instead of 23 feet on the end. And that's a big difference than a 32 foot on the end. But I don't want to give the impression that I would say no, because I really want to know what your immediate next door neighbors think, because, you know, if they all say, yeah, this is, and they understand, and I'm sorry I hadn't been out there. I didn't understand there was such a slope on this property. So I kind of understand that better, because just because it's 32 feet, if your back is technically sloped down, like my property sloped, 32 feet might not seem imposing when you see that land piece. And so it 100% from this meeting, I'm going to have to drive by to see kind of the geography a little bit better, so that I understand, like, if I'm standing in that driveway, am I looking up 32.5 feet, or am I really looking at a property that's sloped down and built more to the slope? But the biggest thing is, without a letter from 110, I don't think we can vote on this. And why I'm sure you've talked to them, we need it in writing, because it's such a big impact on the shade. And I looked at this drawing and I see a better one now, but they put the house on top of the shadow, so it's a little bit misleading. But if you trace that shadow out, it would shade most of her house. And that to me is a big concern, right? And like I said, I understand, and it's technically 98, and I see they put the tree on the shadow thing. That is minimal shading, in my opinion, both in summer and obviously zero in there. So while I do understand her concerns about shading, it's no more than what I would consider acceptable. But that 110, wow, I'd really want to know from them in writing. So
I spoke to the son. Go ahead. I spoke to the son today who lives there. He didn't have concern, but again, he was rushing out. And so I don't know, Andrea, you guys, you had a conversation.
Sylvia?
So let Chris go first, because he had his hand up before I did, but I do want
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry. My apologies.
I was just going to move we table this until next month's meeting.
Well, I think, are there any other questions, Chris, that we want the applicants to answer before, or that we want them to be prepared with before next month's meeting?
Sylvia, maybe?
No, I didn't have a question. It's just an opinion. I mean, I think that we have the CSD for a reason. I think we have to look beyond that neighbor. And if the neighbor does support it, I mean, just as we know, things set a precedence for other streets, other homes. And that's my concern.
Well, and that's why I mean, if I based off the presentation for the similar homes, I would have to vote no right now, because not a single home in that sheet they just sent out matches a roof line like this. They all are sloped on the edges.
So we have a motion to table this project until the April land use meeting. Do I have a second on that, or?
A second.
Okay, so Daryl seconds that. Is there any additional discussion on a motion to table? Okay, all those in favor of tabling this project, revisiting at our April, I don't know, is that April 2nd, the first Tuesday of April meeting, and spending this next month trying to get some additional information and examples that may really show that it matches the character of the community, say aye.
Aye. And just a note, we need those examples before the meeting.
Oh yeah,
not during the meeting.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's get through the vote first, and then yes. Okay, so I said aye, right? Opposed? Okay, abstain? All right, so we're gonna revisit this at our April meeting. And yes, I think this is important enough. So one of the things Daniel keeps saying is that the CSD and the community plan actually talks about light and air. It also talks often about, in keeping with the character of the community, that's what we really should be concentrating on. So I want to make sure that, I think it's a really good thing for us to get some examples ahead of, like well ahead of the meeting, that would show that in that area there are other things. And then whoever wants to go visit the property and look at the slope is fine too. But we'll need to do some real work on this in between now and April. Okay.
So your expectation from us is to provide more examples and more letters of support, is specifically.
Well, I think so. So I think that Dorothy has an action item to get written agreement from the one neighbor. I think that's a due diligence from the land use committee that needs to happen, and not necessarily the you know, homeowner applicant asking and providing. So, but from a give us an example, show us examples, which I don't, what I'm hearing we haven't seen yet, of other, remember, we want all of our building to be in keeping with the character of the community, and being aware of light and air, and to show that there are other residences in that area, R1 residences, that would be sort of comparable. And then I think, Dorothy, that you need to talk with the planner and have them agree or disagree with the discussion of it being a much bigger variance than 2 feet. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys in another month. Thank you for your time. I know this has been, I've been telling everybody, I've been doing this on this committee one way or another for 15 plus years. I've never had this many items on an agenda. And what, Chris, were you the one that was saying to me that, what'd you say, homeowner changes are a thing now? COVID homeowner, you know, it's because everybody's home and has time, I guess. Okay.
Our next meeting is April 6th.
April 6th, thank you. Okay, so we have this final one, which hopefully is not going to take a really long time. It's just a presentation about a new interesting project that's
There are
coming
2
up on-
presentations, Diane, 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were down to the.
Oh, there are 2.
Okay. Okay, so we will do then the interesting, as I was saying, an interesting project on Fair Oaks, which is what I was talking about. Okay, that's Pat's project.
Well,
Sorry.
it definitely is an interesting project, and we do have the architect on. Are you just on the phone, Daniel, or are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
So
we
there
can.
he is, yep.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, Daniel Park is the architect on this project. I have sent out the site plans and also a picture of the current property. It is a drive-through. It is literally on the edge of Altadena, because if you should look at the picture that we sent you, the parking lot just to the south of the building is in Pasadena. So it's literally right at the edge on Fair Oaks, 2080 North Fair Oaks. And the building that's there is going to have some partial demolition involved to make it even smaller than it is now. But it is a drive-through and it's a bit different. Daniel, could you explain exactly what's going to be going on in the building?
Yeah, so and just one correction. So I'm not the architect.
Oh,
I
I'm
work
sorry.
for the architect. So just in case there's confusion later on, but I am the one working with the architect on this project.
You're from the company.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So to be more specific, this project right now, the current on 2080 Fair Oaks is currently, well, the existing use was a church, but right now there is no use for the building. So we're proposing a partial demolition of the front part of the existing building. and in addition to the rear part. So there will be an increase in the effective front yard setback from the street of 20 feet. Currently, right now, the front setback is about 3 to 4 feet. So we're kind of pushing the building back into the site so that it doesn't really impose out into the street and doesn't cause any projections, and it's fairly hidden into the street. So the proposed use for the drive-through right now is for baked goods such as cupcakes and bread. But that sort of will, once we talk through with planning, that will get more specified, and hopefully by the next meeting, I can have more exact proposed use for the building. But for now, right now, it's just a proposed drive-through for baked goods such as cupcakes.
Okay. I've been going back and forth, talking with the planner on this. So there's some things that still need to get worked out. And as you said, Daniel, you know, there's a lot of discussions going on. There will be, I know, some work done by Public Works to figure out, you know, how the parking, there is parking in the back of the building. And you see the driveway that allows the you know, cars to go in, but being a drive-through, the car would then go around the building and out the same entrance. So that is something that's going to have to be worked on by Public Works. So I don't know how much, since we have so many projects, I'm not sure how much time any of you have had to look at you know, the information that I sent. And I'm wondering if now there are any questions that come to mind. What would you like to know about it?
Daniel?
Yes.
Well, there's another Daniel. I think.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Daniel Harlow.
Pat,
Daniel Harlow.
or the other Daniel.
Yeah.
As part of our CSD, we require a maintenance plan to be submitted as part of the CUP. So far we haven't seen that. So before anything's voted on for this, we would need to see that. In addition, and probably most importantly, our CSD requires a buffer when there is residential properties that back up to properties are going to be drive-throughs. That buffer is as specified. A 6-foot solid wall shall be provided to reduce noise trespass. I do see there is a wall at the back of this property. Do you know if that's a 6-foot wall currently, or will have to be rebuilt as part of this?
So as part of all of our projects, we rebuilt the basically the border along the property line. We do ours as a standard 5'9" CMU wall, but we can bump that up into a 6-foot CMU wall as a buffer between the properties.
It will have to be 6 feet because that's what code calls for. So just
okay, we can bump that up easily.
Yeah, just FYI. So yeah, really my only thing is we need to see the maintenance plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Alan, did you have a question?
Yes. At first, I've looked at the property before, actually on the outside and the inside, and even with the demolition you propose in the front, it looks like that drive-through is going to be a challenge, just having the space for the cars to safely traverse it. Has that been measured out, and particularly, specifically, the driveway coming in and out? Is that going to be widened?
So the driveway, right now, we have it measured as a 20-foot wide driveway. So based on two-car, or rather a two-way driveway, 20 feet is sufficient. And I do understand your concern about the actual drive-through. We have that currently right now as a 10-foot drive-through, but there will be sufficient maneuvering space for the cars to enter in through that drive-through and then to exit out.
Okay, and then you also show a car coming out as if it's like one of the parked cars in the back would come as two-way traffic again in that 20-foot driveway coming in.
Yes, that's correct.
Just looks a little tight, that's all.
Well, I think, Pat, that you can talk to the planner about what they're look, you know, how they're feeling about the
Right.
traffic patterns and the, you know, I'm concerned about the pulling in and out of the actual parking places into where people are driving. So, and is there enough room for that and stuff too?
Yeah, I guess one question is, have you considered putting a second curb cut there so the drive-through could exit directly to the street?
We haven't gone that far yet, because well, once we get into building and safety, we can propose to the engineering department for the curb cut. But per code right now, I believe the curb cut is allowable for the 20-foot driveway currently as is. But that's definitely something we can look into for ease of exit.
So are you saying, when you say building and safety, are you saying that once you get all the way through regional planning and then go down to building and safety, that you would change it?
Well, we would submit to building and safety, but right now we don't have planning approval, or rather we're going through planning approval. So
right. So we're going to ask,
yeah.
we're going to ask that discussion take place during planning approval.
Okay, we can reach out to them.
Okay, that's what we're reviewing.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry, Pat, did you?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I think, like I said, I think it's an interesting project, and yeah, if it couldn't be any closer to the edge of Altadena and Pasadena. But does anybody just have any other quick questions before we go? And we'll look forward to getting some more information for next meeting. Dorothy?
I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the documents right now, but how far back is the structure set back from the sidewalk? Because looking on Google, it looks like it's right up to the sidewalk.
Yeah, so that's the current building. So the current building right now is about 3 feet away from the sidewalk. But with our proposed plan, we demolished that front part of the building and effectively increased the front setback to 20 feet.
Yeah, the new building looks a lot better, Dorothy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And we'll be in touch. Pat, you're in good hands with Pat and Alan. Okay.
All right. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
So, are we done? Okay, so Chris, now it's your turn.
Right, so I've got pizza Venice in my census tract. I just first off, thank you, Jamie, Kevin, and Tucker for your patience. I know this is a very, very long meeting. Mr. Woolmer here is the owner of Pizza Venice. It's a small artisanal pizza place, is how I describe it. Is that fair? And they're applying for a CUP for a on and off site liquor consumption license. I'll let you guys take it away.
For sure. Thanks, Chris. I have a quick presentation with a few exhibits. I'll go through that quick. And I'll let Jamie's on here, who's the operator, so he can answer any of the particulars. But am I able to share screen?
Yeah. There you go.
Nice. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so as Chris mentioned, this request is a conditional use permit to allow the sale of beer and wine for both on-site and off-site consumption in conjunction with this existing pizza parlor, Pizza Venice, in the C3 zone. The proposed hours are from 10 a.m. to midnight every night. Just a few of the details on the operation. This restaurant has been here at this location in Altadena since June of 2013. Kind of the proposal, the reason for applying for the CUP and liquor license is to be able to sell and feature local craft beer and wine. So we're requesting on-site and off-site privileges just due to the nature, kind of the nature of the restaurant, as well as kind of the circumstances of what's been going on the past year. Obviously, this is a pizza place, so there's a high volume of orders for pickup and takeout. But kind of the idea is that a customer could go in, grab their pizza, and then get a bottle of wine or a 6-pack of beer to go for takeout. But we just want to make sure that this not be construed as like a liquor store establishment. The beer and wine that would be sold both on-site and off-site would only be serviced with food orders. Obviously, as I said, not a liquor store, but also it's very much not going to be a bar. There's not going to be a bar to sit down in. It's just going to be kind of over-the-counter service for beer and wine. But yeah, they also have a strong business relationship with the Craftsman Brewing Company in Pasadena. So they want to be able to feature their beers, be able to basically be a vendor for their beer, both on-site and off-site. And there's details on this location. This is in a strip mall development right on Fair Oaks Drive, in between Ventura Street and Harriet Street. The site plan here, it's a basic L-shaped strip mall with 5 different vendors, and Pizza Venice occupies this southernmost lot in 2 separate tenant spaces that are combined.
If I may, real quickly, sorry, Diane, put your glasses on. The one that says tenant 6 liquor store, right? So I just that was of concern to me that there's a liquor store right there. But anyway, just keep going. I just wanted to point out to people that it's there.
Right.
Go ahead.
The floor plan is walk in, there's a front counter there, but then it's basic seating to the side, only a few tables in there, very controlled, small kind of environment. We have photos of the interior here, as well as photos of the exterior. That's everything on my end. I wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to our presentation, and we welcome any questions or comments you guys have. As I said, Jamie is on here, who is the operator, so he should be able to answer
hey guys,
any details.
Yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. I just want to say thank you for hearing me out on this one, and I just want to give a quick reassurance that we're not looking to open a nightclub or do a bar. We're not selling any liquor. It's strictly beer and wine. We're definitely looking to focus on craft local beer, as has always really been our business model, is keeping it local. We work with the farmers market. We even had the farmers market do a full pop-up when they were kind of renegotiating their lease at the park. So, we're hoping that you guys can consider. I know the offsite is kind of a sticking point, and maybe there's some fear that it'll kind of change the nature of the neighborhood in a way that's not desirable. And I just wanted to be here to hear that out, and also give my reassurance that the neighborhood and the retail area improving is definitely in the benefit of the business.
Yeah.
And so that's the direction that we want to take it in. However, we started the business as mostly to go and delivery, and a lot of our customers are used to that convenience, and it would really be in the benefit of the business to be able to service those customers with beer and wine, in order to really get the profit that would help the business succeed in the community, and continue to forge those local alliances. I know that the strip mall right now just kind of looks like a pizza shop, a salon, and a liquor store, but we're working really hard to fill those spaces with more quality, and so building this community hub. I'm really excited to see how Fair Oaks can transform and help improve Altadena. So that's all I wanted to say, and I'm here.
Yeah. So there's a process that that Chris will go through, that we kind of the whole liquor thing we have down a little better than some of these other one-offs that you've been listening to tonight. That's crazy. but we'll look at and need to get back to the county with feedback regarding sensitive use businesses. I think there are 1 or 2 churches right there on Fair Oaks, or religious buildings of some sort.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we'll be looking at some of that. We'll sort of canvass the area and say, hey, what are you thinking? How would this, maybe impact you positively, or, are you in favor of this or not, or whatever. Did I hear you say that you want to do delivery with the craft beer, and is that like an ABC okay thing, or I don't know how you do. I mean, I know pickup, that's maybe one thing.
Yeah, I want to defer to Kevin or Tucker on this one, because they're kind of helping me with the ins and outs of the legalities of it.
Yeah, so he can, with if the license you guys allow for off-sale privileges, he can do takeout deliveries as long as there's food. They order food as well.
Okay, so yeah, so there's 2 things here, so everybody knows. There's the alcohol CUP, which is a county process, and Altadena requires, and I think actually all the county does, but anyway, Altadena for sure requires a CUP for serving alcohol, on-site or off-site. Okay, so that's a county process. That's what we'll be involved in. My question was about ABC, which is another whole, that's, the alcohol board that you need with your license, and whether they allow you to take put beer in a car and drive it over to another place.
Right. ABC does allow it. As long as the CUP calls it out, then the ABC does allow for delivery sales accompanied by food.
Okay. And I did send to Chris, I sent at least one of them to Chris. We have a sort of standard set of conditions that we ordinarily put on these types of businesses. People can't be carrying beer out in plastic glasses, for example, that then, and we, I know with one of the restaurants that we did, we made an area that, I don't know, we can think about it, but I see that there's sort of a place that you can sit that sort of could become like a bar. And so we could look at that and just see if there's anything that not to hurt the business or make it harder to do business, but just to, those things that we like to think about. By the way, you've been there for a long time. We would hope that you would be there for a long time too, but we have another business in Altadena that we were able to get, approval for. The county approved the CUP there. They closed, and have been empty now for, I think, 2 years or something. But I think if you were to close, then the alcohol CUP stays with the property for, I think, 2 years. And so that's something that we just will think about, right? We'll just have to think about what happens if you find a bigger, better place, need to expand, doing so well, whatever it is. So just so you know, none of this will be at all associated with trying to, shut the business down or anything. It's all about thinking about Altadena, and as you can see, the due diligence that we do, really trying to do forward-looking things, is part of what we do. So we look forward to having those conversations. Alan, I know your hand's been up for a long time.
Yeah, Alan had questions. Amy had questions.
Yeah, I know Amy has a question too.
And Victoria has questions.
Yeah.
Alan was first.
And Hannah. Okay. So let's just go one at a time. Go ahead.
My first question is, you had said that only craft beer and wine will be sold. You're focusing on local. So are you saying that you will not be serving Coors or Millers or Budweisers?
I will 100% tell you that I do not want to contribute to any large corporate alcohol business whatsoever. That does not go with our brand at all. And we just try and stick with what our personal passions are. Me as a chef and my business partner as a chef, which is keeping it local, and that's 100% correct. And I can make that commitment here tonight very easily. We're not going to be supporting Constellation Wine Group. We're going to be searching out local producers, 100%. And that's what
I can honestly say that for me, that makes a big difference. That you're being local and
But the CUP doesn't restrict it, Diane.
I understand.
You're right.
But I'm asking what he's doing.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable question, and it says a lot about the nature of where the business is going to go. So I think
Jamie, it's reasonable, but to Diane's point, if you're gone, anybody can sell any beer that they want in that location. So I get it's reasonable, and you can make your commitment to us, but it doesn't follow what the rules of the CUP are.
The CUP, yeah.
I have seen CUPs where cities are now to avoid that specific issue, is that you can put a clause in the CUP saying that any new tenant or operator has to come in and get a new plan approval or CUP or go through the neighborhood council process.
Yeah, I don't know if county.
Yeah, county, we've tried that. Sorry.
Yeah. It's the county. Okay, so Amy,
the last question is real short, and that's just how does the liquor store next to you feel about you selling liquor? Or do
well, we're not going to be selling any liquor.
So I understand your beer and wine.
Right. So that's Chris's one of Chris's jobs is to go survey the area. And
I would just say competition makes a market. And at the end of the day, in order to have a thriving business district, I feel like it's to the benefit of all the businesses to just create more services, create more competition, and ultimately bring people out. Yeah.
Okay, Amy.
So my had to do with in the olden days when we could actually go to restaurants and sit there. I recall eating pizza just outside the front door. There were a couple tables right by the outside. And I'm just wondering, we're in pandemic mode now, but is the plan to still have a couple tables out front? And if so, how would that impact, how would we think about the CUP that you're requesting in light of having those outdoor tables?
Yeah, so we don't have any plans for outdoor seating, as that area is technically a sidewalk. And that, to be perfectly honest, was just kind of us trying to make it as business. But since we've taken those away, another thing you should be aware of is that LA County is going to do kind of a facelift on the building, as they've done to other commercial buildings. And so part of that is going to be a total redesign of the parking lot, and everything will be to code, and it's in those plans as well. So no, I don't see a problem where we're going to have kind of the public sector and the inside kind of commingling and creating, I think I can foresee kind of where the scenario that you're playing out, and I understand, and I think we'll be avoiding that.
Yeah, just so you know, Bulgarini, which is the restaurant up in the north of Altadena by Rite Aid.
Very familiar.
We recently helped them with an alcohol CUP, and they have outdoor seating where they were serving. So we came up with some conditions about that. Was Victoria, did you have a question?
Yes, and I'm trying to remember it, and I just remembered it, and then I forgot it again, and it had something to do with Daniel. I know what it was.
Oh, okay.
Does the proximity of the liquor store have any bearing on this CUP?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you, yeah, or Daniel, from a CSD perspective or from a county perspective.
It would be a county or a ABC issue.
Okay.
It's something that's taken into account, but in the CUP application. But I know there are some jurisdictions that preclude you from having uses that close to each other. But with the county, they do it on a case-by-case basis, where you're not necessarily precluded from having it. but it is something that they will take into account.
Yep.
Right.
Tucker got it exactly right.
Yeah.
And then
right. Okay.
have we discussed with Pizza Venice at all the hours of operation? I know we're going to get way down the road with this, but it was sort of made flippantly that this was going to be until midnight every night of the week. And I think that they should be aware that that's not going to probably be the case.
Yeah, so that was my question too, Victoria, because historically we do not allow sales of alcohol in terms of serving till midnight. The traditional hours are 10 p.m. And I don't know if you got a copy of the Bulgarini conditions, but that was lifted directly from like multiple CUPs that we've done over and over and over again. Yeah. But the cutoff,
there's a limit. You have to stop serving at a certain hour.
Yeah, I have it right in front of me. Yeah. So hold on, Diane. So the traditional limit is from Sunday to Thursday, 10 p.m. for on-site. Remember, this is on site. We haven't really dealt with this delivery thing, so we'll talk about that in a second. But Sunday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. for the Friday and Saturday, meaning that's essentially your last call with the idea that they'll be out of there by midnight. Right. And there isn't a restaurant right now that has passed that based on the last set of CUPs. So I want to know, my question, taking off Victoria's, is what is your current hours of operation?
We are open at noon every day.
Till?
We're closed at 8 p.m. except for Friday and Saturday, 8:30.
Okay. The secondary thing is, do you do delivery right now to midnight, or were you seeing that as on-site? Because to me, off-site taking away, that's kind of a different issue than serving somebody until midnight on-site, right? So
yeah, I'm sorry, Daniel. Basically what you're asking me is what do we currently do, or what are our plans?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Like, what were you imagining you were going to do?
So
both for on-site and the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do today, and what were you imagining you would do?
So we're imagining that Altadena and on Fair Oaks could be kind of a little bit, it might end up being more of an attraction. Altadena is such a wonderful place, and there's a lot of neighbors that want to develop a dining culture. And so the plan of making those hours more flexible is just that, just to have that flexibility no matter what the circumstances are down the road in 10 years, let's say. But I mean, right now, having a restaurant open till midnight is not really a good business model given the current climate, and in the pretty intermediate future as well. I don't really see us going late, but yeah, I mean, as a business owner, to be honest, I'm just kind of looking to get as much flexibility as I can, and then you guys on the other end are trying to keep the standards. So happy to meet where where we can all be happy. So
yeah. So just so you're clear, the current standing is last serve at 11 p.m. with mm-hmm. consumption by midnight. Mm-hmm. So, which is slightly different than serve till midnight, consumption till 1 a.m. Right, and that's historically on every other restaurant in Altadena. Well, they used to be a lot shorter, by the way. It used to be even end earlier. Mm-hmm. But the last several that we've done is the expectation is we don't want you open till 1 a.m. because that's more of a bar than a restaurant.
Sure.
We kind of want that to shut down at midnight, right? So
yeah.
So just so you know, so.
Yeah, and then as far as the offsite thing goes, I mean, there's a chance that, and I see a lot of restaurants, especially pre-COVID, were closing their dining room around, say, 10, and then offering delivery later, because people tend to want like a late night snack sometimes, especially on the weekends, and a bottle of wine, as well, especially on a Friday or Saturday night. So just having that flexibility as well. If we wanted to take the direction of offering a late night option to Altadena, and there just really isn't much of one other than Jack in the Box.
I know. So yeah, I want the committee to think if we want to set, and obviously we're not deciding on conditions right now, but I think it would be important for us to consider having different hours for offsite, either delivery and takeaway, than on-site consumption. So just to think about why we're doing this.
I just want to make a quick comment here, just really quick. And my point is, we worry about the houses and that they all stay in proportion and they go along with what the neighborhood looks like. This does not fit our neighborhood, and I live here, and the people that drink draft beer probably won't live in that area. So, and I understand gentrification is real, but I also understand that we have a lot of liquor flowing in our communities, of the Black and brown communities, and we really don't need any more, even if it's draft beer or craft beer. And so I just really want to put that forward that, you know, we wake up one day and there's another place selling liquor in our community. And it's just not something else we want, is people driving up to buy liquor from Pasadena and South Pass and taking it back down there. And, you know, it's not what we do. It's just not what we want. We don't want any more liquor stores or people selling liquor in our community. And I live not in that census tract, but I can walk to your store. So I'm just telling you that. And I know gentrification is real, and I understand that, you know, you want Altadena to look better and feel better, but I really don't want any more liquor.
Yeah, Veronica, it sounds like you're kind of worried that this will actually create like almost like a dangerous situation for the neighborhood.
It's already a dangerous situation, and the way it got dangerous is that liquor stores were allowed to just pop up within 2 miles and a mile of each other in Black and brown communities.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're worried that
I don't want that to happen. And I would rather have something there where the people that live there could afford to have, you know, they're not going to pay $10 or $12 for a craft beer.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we would definitely try and price everybody in and offer things.
I mean, I saw that happen with the Lincoln. Yeah. The Lincoln restaurant came in, not anybody in that restaurant lived in Altadena or Pasadena. They went back out.
But Lincoln was in Pasadena, right?
Yeah, but it's very close. And I'm just saying the same type of situation. I'm just expressing my thoughts here.
Yeah.
In that long range, you know, this just.
Yeah, well,
it's not a good fit. And I sat here and watched when the restaurant was going to go up above Webster's and how they fought over the wine being sold there. I sat here and watched that. That was when I first came on the town council. And the residents did not want liquor served, you know. And I can say, yes, you can have liquor with your meal if you want to eat it there, but taking it out, you know, and being able to call on the phone and order, you know, deliver my beer to my house. I mean, it's just another form of a liquor store. It's just in another form. So that's what I got. It's late and we're tired.
I would just respond to that and say, you know, there have been a number of restaurants that have tried to make a go of it over there. And it's a tough little pocket to have a restaurant in. And the flexibility of being able to offer additional products while, you know, keeping in mind the safety of, you know, of not selling hard liquor. We're not going to be selling any hard liquor at all, just beer and wine. And we're going to try and keep it to craft beer and local beer. So that way people can't really, you know, it would cost a fortune to get out of control, you know, and that's part of the strategy. We don't want anybody kind of creating a nuisance and getting overly intoxicated. We want to keep things really comfortable for our staff, for the neighbors, and also make that extra profit that makes that strip mall on Fair Oaks a profitable venture for a business. Yeah.
Can I make the comment? I think this is actually a really good way to support the success of small local business. If you look at Bulgarini and maybe El Patron as well, they have liquor sales, offsite liquor sales, at least I know at El Patron, and those haven't turned into wild bar situations. Also, I would imagine the clientele that they would get at POV is similar to what they get at the Altadena Ale House. And a lot of those patrons are in the neighborhood, they're local.
Yeah, I think it's important, and we'll kind of end the discussion. I think we have enough questions out there, and we have some more work to do, and it's almost 10 o'clock. But one of the things that all of us should remember is that the world, according to Altadena from Lake East, is very different than the world according to Altadena from Lake West. And Veronica is coming from a place of the West Side and challenges that she has there in her.
I don't think it's that much different, Diane. It's just that we think of it as being different.
Well, okay,
So
wait,
I really
okay. I'm not getting into an argument with you about it. What I'm trying to say, is
same things in our community as you do.
You and I have had this conversation. There are no liquor stores east of Lake. So, and you deal with liquor stores. So that's what I'm trying to say to you, is that your environment over there with liquor stores and then restaurants selling liquor are very different from on the east, from Lake East, where there are no liquor stores. And yes, there are restaurants that serve liquor, but there are very few of those. So that's all I'm trying to say, is that we just have to keep in mind that perceptions are different when you're surrounded by liquor stores. That's all. Okay, so
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to working with you on this. Chris is going to get some help from some of the other folks that are in census tracts over there by him, so he doesn't have to do all this by himself. And if all goes according to plan, we'll look forward to seeing you again in a month.
Thank you guys for your time. Interesting to see what you all do. And
gosh.
So it's a labor of love. I can see that.
We're all volunteers. This is no City of Bell. We do not get paid.
Oh man, those City of Bell people, they made off like bandits, didn't they?
That's correct. This is no, in fact, if we had real live meetings, you'd see us putting money into the kitty to raise money for the group.
Altadena has a lot of orange trees though. Maybe we can like get a bag of oranges for everybody.
I know. All right, thank you very much. So now,
thank you guys.
You can go away, but Jamie, you can go away, but the rest of us can't yet. Okay. We did not have any public comment for any of these projects. So just so you know, we didn't skip over it. We just didn't have any. General public comment, I'm going to read like, we can be, I have, I think 4 of these. They're short, I promise. Well, except for one. We can be done. Oh, what can we be done? What can be done about the gardeners blowing lots of dirt, trash, and the terrible smell of gasoline in our neighborhoods every day, week? All of the dirt and gas is affecting my health. Also, it keeps you washing windows, window seals, screens, and your complete home free from all blowing in the air. The gardeners are not allowed to use the gas blowers in San Marino. My ex-gardener always acted like he didn't understand when I'd ask him about it. Got rid of him after 25 years because of the gasoline. My new gardener does blow some, but uses the blower that he uses in San Marino, no gasoline. Please help ban the powerful gasoline blowers. Thanks, Christine Robinson. And here's one: to whom it may concern. My name is Patricia Benavides, and I live at 3022 North Raymond. I live across the street from one of the beautiful trees, and I do not agree with cutting them down. Owls live in it, and we need a study before you make a decision. The trees are a landmark of the neighborhood and need to be protected. It's called beautiful Altadena for a reason. Please don't cut them. Save them for our environment. Thank you. And that's from, Patricia Benavides. And then here's Zach Edelston says, sent a letter to Supervisor Barger that says, I write you as a concerned citizen regarding the property at 183 to 205 East Palm Street. I was aghast to learn of the plans to cut down 2 ancient pine trees on this property. Trees are a tremendous boon to locals. They offer shade, sequester carbon, and provide tangible health benefits. Mature pines are especially precious. Their deep roots help them survive droughts, while their tall canopies provide extra shading. Removing these trees is a blow to the community and our collective fight against climate change. Moreover, Warmington Residential is violating the CUP by removing these pine trees unnecessarily. Their arborist reports are vague and they will not fully disclose the entire report. They are using a loophole that the trees are healthy but dangerous to validate their removal, even though there is absolutely nothing wrong with the trees. There was a third-party arborist done by Rebecca Latta in 2019, indicating that the trees were fine. The CUP states that the pine trees can be removed if deemed necessary, which makes it unsettling and curious that the trees are suddenly dangerous. Warmington Residential does not care about protecting these very important and necessary trees. They care about expanding a driveway and building a house. This is a violation of the CUP and it needs to be stopped. Expanding a driveway and building a house are not necessary reasons for removing mature trees. Sincerely, Zachary Edelson. Wait. Okay. This is the last one. I moved to Raymond Avenue in December of 2020. My husband and I had a painful year of significant loss and major health issues. We found the perfect little house surrounded by trees. After the wildfires in August, I started to have lung issues and trouble breathing. So living somewhere with lots of trees seemed like the best course of action. I need air. Sometimes when I speak, I lose oxygen and become lightheaded. I've always known the importance of oxygen, but never been faced with not being able to breathe before. It is terrifying. Your body goes into shock and panic ensues. Oxygen is the life force for all of us. It's something so profoundly necessary for our survival, and yet we cannot see it. We take it for granted. It's just there. Where does our oxygen come from? Well, there's an exchange between ourselves and trees. It's a beautiful exchange, really. During the magical process of photosynthesis, the trees breathe in carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. We are spending our time talking about whether or not 2 ancient pines on the Palm Street development site are worthy of living, even though they provide us oxygen. These pines are perfectly healthy. They do a fabulous job of taking the massive amounts of carbon from our atmosphere. They take in far more carbon than the 2 saplings for every 1 tree removed will. They also cool our air. Trees respire, they exhale water, and that exhale cools the air around us. These trees are necessary for giving our neighborhood temperate. Oh, I'm sorry, keeping our neighborhood temperate, my apologies. Standing under the canopy of a tree is easily 15 to 20 degrees cooler than standing in the sun. It beguiles me that we need to have these conversations. I'm floored that there is still this willingness to sacrifice ancient trees that are perfectly good health for a wider driveway. That we would knowingly allow the removal of these king trees, these providers of oxygen, to build $1 million home because the tree was in the way. Are you paying attention? We are a climate catastrophe. Those wildfires in August, the ones that damaged my lungs, climate change. The polar vortex that has knocked out power in many parts of Texas, climate change. And here I'm begging you not to allow these trees to be cut down in vain. We need these trees. We desperately need them. They are not just 2 trees. They are our future. They are the well-being of our community. They are part of the community, and to deny that is complicit in the destruction of our environment. We have the power to make choices that will actually benefit the community and one another. Removing trees to build $1 million homes is not the way forward. We're intelligent beings and can figure out how to build homes without destroying trees. Let's figure it out, not remove trees. Let's save them. Layla Tamburini. Okay, so those are the public comments. For those on the committee that would like some more information, Billy Malone has that, if you're interested. regarding the trees. And that's the end of the meeting.
Diane, you had another letter you and I communicated about. It's a short one from Rachel Figura. I have it here if you want me to read it into record.
Is that the one that I couldn't understand? I thought I printed it out. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I had, wait. Let me make sure I don't have it because I thought I printed out everything that I got. My apologies. Just a second. Maybe it's stuck together.
And I have it here if you need.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I printed it out, but I guess I didn't.
For me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, with the new owner, this is again concerning the Palm Street Worthington project. With the new owners, all the considerations and agreements that the original owners made us are mostly being ignored. We were told they would save the large pine trees and as many trees as they could save. As of 2 weeks ago, they cut the oaks and many other trees. We are really sick at the idea of them also taking the pine trees. I am not the only one concerned. As the remaining neighbors learn of this, they are also against removing the pine trees. It needs to be recognized that since the removal of the large trees around my home, the wind and the sun are much harsher. The last windstorm was destructive to my home. The sun now beats through my windows excessively. The loss of these large trees would require the homeowners to paint more often and require more maintenance to their property. Please bring up on the agenda that the pine trees we are working on saving. Austin Ritchie, the developer, had told us he would save those pines out loud in meetings prior. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, as I said, Billy is working on that. You can get details from him if you're interested. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Daryl. Second. Okay.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for your hard work. Bye.
Bye, John Boy.
Bye, everybody.